And here we go.
5, 4, 3.
Call to me, lands far away.
Elves have forests to protect.
We need to build a wall.
Dwarfs their mines. Men their fields of grain. But we Harfoots have each other.
For I must now wander this wandering day.
We're safe.
You have fought long enough, Galadriel.
No.
Put up your sword.
The enemy is still out there. The question now is where?
It is over.
Nothing is over! Nothing! You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them!
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
Darkness will march over the face of the earth. It will be the end, not just of our people, but all peoples.
Everyone! I am sorry, but their time has come.
The past is with us all. The past is dead. We either move forward or we die with it.
This could be the beginning of a new era.
Away I must wander this wandering day.
To him finally being lionized in the prime, and his prime. Fuck.
Do it!
Shit.
Just do it! Don't let your dreams end. Yesterday, you said tomorrow. So just do it! Make your dreams come true!
Luke went from being... Oh, no. Welcome, Slayer Nation. I have some great news for you today. I hope you're all doing great. Nope, that didn't work. One more.
You have failed me for the last time.
Welcome, Slayer Nation. I hope...
If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up.
That is eating away at what you love in order for it to shine. And one man's vision is... Sometimes you don't have to make things better for them to be great again. You merely have to Okay. Hollywood continues to slow boil the culture and crazy. Well, right now, Spider-Man actor Andrew Garfield has stepped up and he's fighting motherfucker.
I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
And unbearded dwarves, but Prime didn't stop there. They stapled in intersectionality, individuality, biddiga-dig-bee, biddiga-dig-boo.
So it begins.
At my signal, unleash hell.
Ladies and gentlemen, George the Giant Slayer.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. It's February 16, 2025 in the year of our Lord, and it's great to see you all here. I see Little Dark is here, Jill Powers, the River Daughter, Cindy, Toxic Waltz, Jeremy Winfield. Also, we have our great mods, Eric K., the king of the mods, Lord Thoth. And in the background, we have producer Fletcher Williams. Olaf will be joining us in a moment. But there's a lot of news to cover. I know my voice is still cracked. It's almost going into the third week fighting this damn flu, but I've almost got it beat. Got it on the run. A lot of hot tea, a lot of chicken soup, a lot of cold medicine helps you. And we're slaying its ass. But hey, VJ, how you doing? Lizzie B, Tune the News, and Moomy. All beautiful people. So we got a lot of news this week. We see Captain Checkbox is out. I finally went and saw it. I was talking about it with Drinker the other day on this on Open Bar, and I hadn't seen it, so I was just listening. I can only share my comments from the trailers. And so I finally saw it. So I think we're all going to talk about a little bit about it today. Well, I also checked out a new film from Apple called The Grudge late last night, which I passed out and had to watch it again this morning. It was pretty fun. I want to talk about it. It's like you can have a really great film, and then for me, the ending, the last 15 minutes, kind of like, but it's worth it. Good popcorn flick. Plus, you got Ukraine's leader, Zelensky, the man who thinks he's a real boy and not a puppet of the former administration, thinks he's going to be able to tell Donald Trump and America what to do. I thought that was adorable. We also have problems in the UK. We got Doge and Musk and Trump kicking ass all over the place. They've been talking about how we are going to fire about 200 to 220,000 employees from the federal government. Talk about shrinking it down. They're probationary employees. They hadn't completed their probationary period, so we're going to talk about that too. Plus, the president today went to a race car competition. He went to NASCAR. There's a lot of video of him bringing his granddaughter there. Plus, we're going to look at Christopher Nolan's Odyssey and how that cast is coming about. Then Amazon dropped another joke. Forget G20. We talked about that on Wednesday. We'll go over it for a few seconds. Kind of think about it as an April Fool's joke, a film called G20. It's Die Hard, the Menopause Edition. But then they also officially renewed Rings of Power Season 3. I'm like, that needed a laugh track when they announced it. But fuel those flamethrowers and let's get going. We're going to savagely roast the stupid and then share all the facts and have some fun. Let's bring them out here. We got the little platoon. A good friend of mine. We got DA. We got Angry Badger, and Mr. Grant Gregory will be joining us soon. Plus, my very good friend, Tom for Midnight's Edge, and Midnight's Edge After Dark, and Midnight's Edge Espanol. How you doing, gentlemen?
Doing good, George.
Great to see you here. So, who has seen Captain Checkbox?
I saw most of it. It's the greatest Marvel since Marvel.
Platoon? No commentary?
Oh, yeah, no, I've seen it. Yeah.
Was that your comment? Like, yeah, silence?
I got the gist of it anyway.
Yeah, you only really need the gist. For Brave New World, it's not brave, and there's nothing new, and it doesn't do anything for its own world, so it's a bit of a misnomer, that movie.
I read the leaks that came out a couple weeks ago, and then had my co-host beat by beat go over the entire movie, which he did watch, and it's exactly the same as the leaks that came out, and yeah, thank God.
So you were spared.
Yes. Well, not really, because I probably should have seen it compared to his reenaction, but yeah.
Well, that's good.
In other words, it's not going to make Marvel great again.
No.
Really? Wow. Well, real quick, we got some people coming in hot, helping support the channel. We have Tender Warrior 68, gifted 5 Georgia Giant Slayer memberships. Bless you, Tender Warrior. Thank you. By the way, we're going to have one hell of a member stream this week. I'm going to make an announcement pretty soon. this hour, something special that I've been working on for a very, very long time. And I'm going to show some behind the scenes clips from it first to the members this Wednesday. So if you're not a member, become a member. You get to see something nobody else will. Well, they'll see a little bit later afterwards. And then we got Bob the Lobster. I always love Bob the Lobster. What a name. Gifted 5 Georgia Giant Slayer memberships. Everybody, please go thank Bob. And we have William Barr. How are you doing, my good friend? Gifted 1 Georgia Giant Slayer membership. I love it. Everyone counts. Every single one. Please go thank these incredible people. And, well, no, let's get some applause in here for them. Here we go. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, beautiful souls. Now, North Carolina. I always like to kick everything off with North Carolina first, because the last few months we were covering how North Carolina had suffered after Hurricane Helene, and FEMA didn't do anything. And of course, we finally found out why FEMA didn't do anything, because they didn't have money, because they were sending $52 million to the Roosevelt Hotel, which was owned by Pakistani Airlines, which was owned by the government of Pakistan. And that money got clawed back this week. President Trump has helped them out. But now Kentucky just had massive floods causing mayhem everywhere. And what does North Carolina do? While they're in their own crisis, while you still have people living in tents in the middle of winter, North Carolina sends help. Isn't that a beautiful thing?
What were the golf buggies for? I'm sure I saw them sending golf buggies. Are golf buggies good in crises?
A golf buggy, really?
I swear it was at the beginning. It looked like a golf buggy. It's like right at the beginning.
Those are little all-terrain vehicles. They're good for especially if there's like logs blocking roads. Yeah,
we're just
they move
gonna
around
ignore
people.
the fact that he called the golf cart a golf buggy. Okay.
Yeah,
isn't that what it's called? I don't
No.
play golf. I'm not that
It's
rich.
adorable that you called it that.
I like golf buggy. It works. Well, there's another one. But yeah,
I guess where you're from, that might be what they're called, I guess.
No, that's pretty good. I think it's just amazing. I mean, it shows the power of when people come together. Look at that. You have a state that's still suffering from the devastations of Helene and all the political choices that were made. But right when they're needed, because Kentucky had these massive floods, they're like, nope, we're on the way. Appalachian strong. And I love that. That's how we should be. That's what citizens should do. You don't have to, but it's a good thing. I love it.
Good stuff.
It is good stuff. And then we have, Zoe Saldana seems to have added a little bit to the headache of Netflix, because she won the BAFTA award last night for Emilia Perez. And then she came out on stage, and Netflix has made no comment so far, but we'll keep you informed.
Emilia Perez to my nephew, Eli, who he is the reason. They are the reason I signed up to do this film. So as a part of a trans life, I will always stand with my community of trans people. Thank you so much.
I would like to know, when did this, it's like the virtue signaling. Do they still think this works?
Probably.
They're still wrapped up in their own bubble yet. Yeah. And this is where we're seeing a big shift in the money producerial side of things compared to the creative side of things. The creative side of things, they're like, we need to double down. No, we need to triple down. We need to say F you to Trump in everything we do. And the money side are just like, they're taking all the you said money. They're taking everything away. Guess what? We're cutting all these DEI programs. We don't need this shit anymore. We can't keep spending this kind of money and expecting to make money. That's why they're cutting all these movies left and right. And,
you know whose money they do need again?
Well, that's where did you think the you said money came from? Us. That was the answer to everything. We kept trying to tell people all these other companies and places that are making these movies and products that are clearly not making any money. Where's the other money coming from to fund this stuff? Well, we found out.
Instead of our taxes, now you need me to buy your figures again, but you don't make
now
figures,
they can't,
do you? Yeah.
They can't rip it out of my pocket involuntarily. So now they got to make me actually want to spend money on this crap. That's basically what's going down. Yeah, the whole thing is, like Tom said, it's a bubble thing. The people in the bubble care about all of that nonsense. Everybody outside the bubble's like, who gives a fuck? All right. Can you show me something good? Can you give me a good show? Can you put on a good movie? Can you give me some good acting, some good writing, some good storytelling? No, then I'm not interested, But yeah, inside the bubble, all of that crap absolutely matters.
Unbelievable. The Fletcher, send me that, what you just sent me. Send me so I can share it with everybody since we're talking about Zoe Saldana for a second.
Because we even did a story this week about how there's, the typical woke crowd inside of Disney is panicking right now, and they're freaking out, and they're even saying that Bob Iger, is a traitor because now he's...
God, yeah.
We're going to Trump. Yeah.
We're going to cover that. See, Tom, like minds think alike. Yeah. Disney's having their own internal civil war. People are basically saying, "What's Disney going to do now?"
Well, it has been for years, but now they think it's the final re. It's what I've been talking about for a while. They're freaking the fuck out. They're going to try and take as much down on the way out as they can, and I'm sure we'll get into it more when we get into that part.
It is funny as well with people like Zoe Saldana, because a lot of the tone that comes across is like it's the fall of the old regime, and lots of these people just don't know how to react to it. So they're waiting to be given instruction, to be told what to say and what to think again, because they've been told what to say and what to think for such a long time. Now that entire apparatus has kind of collapsed, and they're still sitting there floundering, saying, well, I just quickly call the extended family. I must have a trans somewhere down the line. Maybe it's my fourth cousin. Maybe my fourth cousin has a kid. Can he be a boy for the... Okay, that's good. Okay, I'm doing this for my trans community. As eventually the narrative will shift, but until then they are just sort of floundering around and wailing. It's quite funny to watch.
It was a lot like back in the day when all you had to do was say Trump and they'd TDS and they'd get a bunch of ratings. You can say it now, people understand that they were lied to. That also the trans virtue signal is not, I don't really ever think it did work, but certainly their circles, it's really not working anymore.
Right. It's like a membership card.
Yeah, and as we were talking about last night on Flash, a big portion of them, people are just like, they're even more pissed now that we're not having buyer's remorse. See, that's the thing. Right now, they're expecting us to go, man, I wish I hadn't voted for Trump. Y'all were right. He was going to do this and he was going to do that. Instead, they're going, aren't you upset? Aren't you feeling buyer's remorse? It's like, no, I'm glad. He's doing everything he said he was going to do.
Yeah, he's doing way more, too. He's done more in the 3 weeks or whatever it is than I thought he would do in an entire... Yeah, it's great. Keep going.
His approval ratings are the best they've ever been. He has the highest approval ratings he's ever had because he's doing exactly what he said he would do. I don't have buyer's remorse at all.
No. You know how shocking that is? It's like when you hear some of these commentators or anchors on CNN or MSNBC, they're like, he's actually doing what he said. Of course, then they twist it, horrible, blah, blah, blah. But they should be stunned, even for ideologues. They should be like, a president is actually fulfilling his promises. You may not
My uncle had a meltdown to me. He never talks about politics. The man you love is fucking everything up. I was like, oh, okay. Good. That means it's working.
But this is what Saldana said that Fletcher just sent me. It's in the Independent. Zoe Saldana calls America entitled for erasing accents on her name since birth.
Isn't she the one who did Blacker Face in that movie?
She is, yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Shut the fuck up, Zoe.
I know. It's like if you would just make the movies, talk about them, promote them like they used to do on junkets, and just go about your way.
Movie. That's the ideology you're trying to get across. Just promote the movie.
What does she expect the response to that to be? It's no longer my job, she says, to help you pronounce my name. So, okay, then, Zoe Saldana, I'll just carry on calling you that like I always have.
Yeah.
I had no idea there was an accent over the N. I only found that out doing Emilia Perez, and then I looked at it and thought, oh, that's interesting. It's never going to catch on. So, fuck it. Just move on.
It didn't. Well, we'll get to that. I was about to say Falcon, wasn't he in Captain Check?
Falcon. At what point do you correct someone?
It's Falcon. No. On some good news, I saw this came out late last night before we jump into Disney.
And the suit's just not good. We gotta.
Hey, I give him credit for at least poking fun at the suit not fitting. What do you think that was all about? That was him. Yeah, clearly having fun with that. Yeah.
What's fun about this is this behind the scenes.
Okay, this 101, take one.
What are you doing here?
You are? You must be a new intern.
All right, reset.
I got somebody for you. Her name is Little Debbie. Wait till you meet her. He's married. Leave him alone.
Let's go. Reset. And action.
James shows up and everybody wants to get their direction on. Drew Gunn, got it. You need to come more often, Mr. James.
That's Mr. Direction, James.
You're going to direct a director. Give him some direction.
It is really cool, huh? I didn't know that. Oh, I want you to meet
Me.
Reset superhero. Reset.
Me. Not so easy, is it, James?
Shaq just seems fun to hang out
You gonna
with.
focus on that tightness?
Yeah. We were all focused on that.
That was the whole shot.
I come a long way since Kazam, sir.
You have. I often say Kazam, Godfather 2, and Citizen Kane. Those are the three.
Dun, dun, dun.
That could work.
I can still leap buildings off of tall bounds. I can still leap bounds off of tall. You can put it together faster for me in editing.
He's good. We should get him.
Tired of holding my stomach in anyway.
It is a lot of work having to hold your stomach in all the time.
Tell me about it.
Did you get a lot of flack in school?
Yeah. A lot of corn syrup, corn swaggle.
It's better than Shaquill. Shaquilt. I'd have been your bodyguard in high school. Anybody your corn sweat? I'm you up at 3 o'clock.
I thought that was fun. Just a little.
Shaq's a good dude, man. Shaq's a good dude. He's always been a good dude.
I mean, we can say
he's a real salt of the earth kind of human being.
All the stuff we were seeing, but like, did you guys see the video of David Cornsweet where he has the soundtrack of Star Wars playing and he's actually doing the dialogue along with it? Like, it's like, okay, at least the guy's a nerd. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Well, I think it just shows a very kind side. I like it. It's like, again, I always liked Anthony Mackie. I thought he was charming, charismatic. He seemed affable in his interviews. He was always positive, and
do you have the Make Daddy a Sandwich clip that we talked about earlier today? You know about this with Wendy Williams, where it starts with him saying, "Then make Daddy a sandwich," and like all the women get upset, and he's like, "Let me ask you something. If someone comes up to you and says something slick, what do you want me to do? Punch him in the face, right?" And then he goes with a couple other examples. He's like, "Then make Daddy a sandwich," and the top comment is like, "I take it back. This Nutella is in fact Captain America," but he said that dumb shit about Captain America not representing America, and that alienated it.
That's what bothered me. It's like I liked him, and then he made that crack, and then last night, where did it go? Last night he went to a premiere. Where did you go? Here you go. Now, people are going to think I'm nitpicking. It bothers me. I'll explain why. He went to a premiere last night for. He went into a movie theater where everybody was watching Captain America. Here we go. And there was something about it that irritated the hell out of me, but it might not bother anybody else.
Talking during the trailers.
Hey, guys. All of a sudden, y'all have the best seats in this.
Could they not
not
have found?
full.
I was gonna say, could they not have found a busier theater for him to show up to?
I know. It was crazy. I think, especially after the comment that he made about Cap, Cap doesn't represent America. I don't like that he's holding the shield as a fucking popcorn bucket.
Is that the popcorn bucket for the movie, though?
Yeah,
I didn't see one when I went and got it. I don't like that. I think it's just a bad. But I'm also the kind of person who doesn't like seeing the flag, turned into coasters, or I don't know. That's just me. I'm really weird about that when it comes to flag and symbols.
One of them is the shield, the other one is a Red Hulk, and it's like you eat the popcorn out of his back. It's equally as creepy, and
because I like the popcorn bucket thing. So let's just move on to Captain Checkbox. We'll go around. So, Little Platoon, what'd you think? Did you like the Munchkin who was taking on 200-pound grown men?
Oh, is that the Hobbit character? the Israeli Black Widow Hobbit. He was great. Clearly had loads of her
good to
scenes
see little
cut.
people getting work after Peter Dinklage fucked it up for everybody.
This is true. There is still just about employment for dwarves somewhere in there in all of Middle Earth. But she clearly had a bunch of her scenes cut, removed, and spliced around, and like she turns up in odd places and doesn't achieve anything, and then she wears a suit in the scene that never comes back again. She doesn't. It's a mess of a film, which is impressive,
right?
Given like the
Assad agent. Yes.
You mean it wasn't just like that because I was skipping around and trying to skip through it?
No.
It's like that all the way through. It's like you're skipping through it when you watch it in order. It's not a well put together thing, which is impressive given like how much of it is just copied and pasted from Winter Soldier. I mean, the basic plot is the Winter Soldier. Oh shit! We start off with a hostage thing. We've got to go and rescue the hostages and get MacGuffin. But oh no, turns out that deal wasn't quite what it seemed like it was. Somebody was manipulating things from behind the scenes. Somebody has a plan to turn American institutions against the country, and we have to stop them. But oh no, there's an assassination attempt by a super soldier who then loses his memory. They steal entire lines from Civil War. When in Civil War, Cap goes, meets Bucky, says, I'm going to need you to do better than don't know, when Bucky says that he didn't do anything. Same thing happens in this one. He goes to meet Isaiah, who no one will remember because he's from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And he says, I don't know, I don't remember anything. And he says, I'm going to need you to do better than don't know. It's like, that's impressive how you're fucking this up when you didn't even write it yourselves. And then it just becomes sort of dimly farcical at the end when you have Harrison Ford and the Red Hulk and the weird broccoli-shaped supervillain. It's, yeah.
The leader?
The leader, yes,
Yeah.
who's got like one of the most hilarious villain reveals I've seen in a long time. If your
does
villain
look like
looks
broccoli
like,
is taped to his head.
Don't you remember him from the Hulk movie that everyone loves with Edward Norton?
Hey, I
Yeah.
like
17 years ago.
Norton
Super
is such
topical?
so much of a better Hulk.
They should have given you, it's like if they're going to have homework, they should have given you like a little sheet before you go, okay, just to catch you up before the movie starts,
Well, let's be honest. This isn't really Captain America 4. This is Hulk 2, Winter Soldier, Falcon
Season,
2.
yeah, whatever.
Whatever. Bridge to the next thing.
Eternals, because this is really just to address the
don't forget
goddamn
Eternals, too.
adamantium.
Eternals. And let's not forget Eternals.
Save
Well,
that.
prequel to X-Men. So yeah, don't forget that.
Prequel to X-Men.
Oh, this completely... Adamantium comes from vibranium. It's a derivative that they mix with another metal, and that's how you get it. So this now means
Not
that Wolverine
anymore,
is-
it's not.
If he's there, yeah, they've completely...
That's not how the Force works.
now it turns out it's like, I don't, because that's the only thing you almost need to watch the film for. It doesn't achieve anything and it doesn't alter anything. And the end credit scene is just the villain saying basically, hey, you're not going to like it because there's another movie next. Yeah, that's a fair comment. But he doesn't say anything at all.
That's
about
literally what he said.
coming.
He's like,
Yeah.
there's another movie coming. I'm sorry to tell you this.
Yeah. But the only thing you need to know is that, oh yeah, adamantium's now a thing. But instead of adamantium being anything like from its comics background or anything like that, no, the giant dead god statue that everyone forgot popped out of the Indian Ocean is now made of adamantium.
Right.
And at some point over the last several years, during which MCU movies have forgotten it existed, nations have been at war over who gets to own the adamantium inside the statue until brave President Indiana Jones comes along and he wants to sign a treaty. And we know he wants to sign a treaty because it's the only dialogue he has in the entire fucking movie. And he says, this treaty will ensure that we have a fair and equitable distribution of adamantium. That's his exact words.
I know. It
Well,
was cheesy.
I mean,
it was cheesy. Come on.
But you know what? There was a
millennium-altering technology which will alter everything, massively important for defense. We must make sure we share it with equitably within the Koreans. What the fuck are you talking about?
If that was actually Trump, he'd be like, it's ours.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a good story to find in this material. Like, if you're saying there's a fight over adamantium, and which country is going to control it. Someone's trying to discredit the United States and Harrison Ford, Thunderbolt Ross, and make him out to be a bad guy. Who is it? There's some political intrigue going on there. There's a story somewhere in the middle of all of this junk that you could actually flesh out. You just need really good writers to do it. And they don't have them. All right. They had like 8 or 9 writers. I don't know how many people wrote this thing. And it changes views. There's like 3 different villains. None of them have a satisfactory story at all. All right. You got the Sidewinder, who is just it literally feels like somebody just plucked a character off the shelf, threw him into the movie and said, all right, find something for this guy.
That is exactly what they did do. Yeah. He wasn't even in the movie for most of the production. And then they suddenly thought, we better throw him in.
So they shot the entire movie, screened it, and then everyone's like, "Yeah, it's really lackluster. The action scenes, these are horrible." Then they had those 5 months of reshoots where they hired writers. This was like, you don't hire writers for just pickup shots.
Right.
They added in Giancarlo Esposito. They replaced her, all that dumb shit, and it's still lackluster.
Yeah, and what about the characters that they cut out? You have Diamondback and Ruth got completely cut out. They were supposedly
Marvel's Ruth.
Diamondback and
Which is
Ruth.
funny that they were in the Happy Meals. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
but
but I don't understand here. I'm not a fan of Falcon being Captain America, but I didn't mind the whatever you call him, the middle cap, the black guy. Like he was an
Isaiah
alright character.
Bradley?
Yeah. So like I don't see why they didn't have the opportunity here. This is the 4th film. You have 4 Captain Americas. Why isn't it called 4 Captains? And take the storyline that you have here, and it's about getting the 4 captains together to have to do this, and they're debating, is it really right for one person to control all the adamantium, especially considering this thing is shoved through the middle of the fucking earth.
Yeah.
Right, literally. Like,
yeah.
I mean, so it is one of those things to debate about, and this is the kind of thing, is the last, half a dozen wars or skirmishes we've had have been mostly about some sort of control over oil or something. So, like, yeah, outside of 9/11, I guess.
I guess the question that I got now is, what does this do for the Thunderbolts and all future Marvel movies where there's, Marvel's on a bad string lately. I mean, yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine aside, it's just been a bad run of movies for Marvel over the last 3 to 4 years. Does the Thunderbolts tank out of this? Because I think the Thunderbolts might actually end up being an okay movie, but I think it's going to suffer majorly because this movie is just such garbage that nobody can stand it.
But if you put it this way, this movie has Captain America in the title. This movie is about one of the A-list characters in the MCU. And I mean, I've not kept up with the figures, but as I understand it, it opened lower than Ant-Man 3. Ant-Man, who is a C-tier at best character. So if their A-list characters are opening to this low, then a movie which is explicitly composed entirely of offshoot characters with no name recognition, I don't see doing well at all, irrespective of the quality. Shit, which I'm kind of with you. I could see it being. I'm more prepared to be surprised by that one being good than any other movie, precisely because I don't think they are paying much attention to it, and that's usually what creates good work these days.
Suicide Squad.
I think they made a big mistake. I think they made a huge mistake. I think. Number one, I think Captain America. I think Brave New World and Thunderbolts need to come out after Fantastic Four, because I think setting up the year was something as shitty as Brave New World and then Thunderbolts. Let's say it's even good.
That's why they're doing it, George. They're getting it out of the way.
I think that's the wrong move because you're coming off of strings of bad movies. I view Deadpool and Wolverine wasn't. I mean, yes, Disney put it out, but we know it wasn't Disney. We know it wasn't Marvel. It wasn't Kevin Feige. And the public, you're starting a new year. You want to start on a win. Build a big tent event. Fantastic Four should have been it. And then you drop your crap. Because if you start with crap first, right? How many people are now going to go, well, is Thunderbolts good? I want to spend my money. Because remember, the economy is still bad. Tickets are expensive. Going there is expensive. I think it would have done even worse if it wasn't Valentine's weekend. When I went, most people
like contractual obligations, but that's where Ironheart makes no sense to me, because that one shouldn't have much contractually attached to it unless it has scrap story wise.
Iron Wars or Armor Wars, but
that's
they can't scrap Ironheart. Right, they have to release it.
Yeah, so there's something in Ironheart that needs to come out, evidently, and I have less to believe now that it has to do with you can't cancel a show just because it has a black lead actress in it. I don't believe that anymore. There's something in that show.
The storytelling. Maybe
exactly, that's my
something
point.
with Wakanda and the adamantium or some dumb shit where it's a core plot element.
There's something.
That's kind of where I feel like here. So do I sound better? Somebody said something like I sounded like I was in a tunnel.
No, the stream. People were saying the stream was buffered.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't even me. It was
buffered right there.
Okay, so that's why I popped out and popped back in.
That's very odd.
But no, like I skipped through it. I got the gist of it. It's not even really a movie. Like, and this is what I've been talking about for a long time, is that these movies are not even movies, really. And this is what Scorsese's been talking about. This movie only exists because Marvel. Right? Like, they didn't have a good story to tell. They approached this from the opposite angle. It's not like some writer said, you know what? I got this amazing idea about the adamantium rights and Red Hulk and Captain Falcon. No. This just happened because they needed to do a sequel to this, to lead to this, to get to that, to set up adamantium, to get the Red Hulk out of the way, to set up the Thunderbolts for some reason, yada, yada, yada. This is not even a fucking movie. I'm so sick and tired. And I'm glad I didn't actually pay to go see this. So thank you to the person who sent me a free copy of this, I'll say. Because I'm so sick and tired of going to these movies and it not really being a movie. It just being homework for something else. And I had to have homework from something else. And this is where I think the audience has kind of just turned away from these things, especially since Mom. Like, Multiverse of Madness was the movie I think people started noticing, wait a minute here. These aren't even sequels to movies I've seen already. They're sequels to shows that I didn't watch, and I don't care. So the audience is tuned out, and unless it's Deadpool or Spider-Man, I don't think they're going to care anymore. I think Superman and The Flash are going to tell us whether or not, or not Flash.
I'm even worried about Spider-Man.
Yeah, even Spider-Man, considering how attached he is to the MCU now.
Yeah.
But fortunately for them, they have him kind of off on this kind of like side thing here to where he's kind of forgotten by everybody now. So they have that at least going for him. But regardless, this is a shit movie. You get the Hulk for a few minutes. It doesn't really bring anything new to the table. If you're a Hulk fan, maybe you'll get a few like woos out of it because you get to see a few characters from the Hulk. But I mean,
but is that even the leader? It's not even the leader.
It doesn't even look like the leader.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same actor, but who cares?
Terrible on so many levels. I mean, I'm going to take some super chats real quick before we address this further. I will tell you what I did.
Angry Beaver got to comment on what he thought of it, but yeah, so.
Oh, it's fine. I said more or less.
Yeah, TGV Monster for $5. I wonder what dirt Jennifer S. has on Anthony Starr to degrade him in woke Amazon crap. Oh, G20 is cringe. It is cringe. We're going to talk about that in a second. Have y'all seen the G20 trailer?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, come on.
That'd be great.
It's going to be great.
Awesome. You made her even look bad. What's her face? The actress.
Viola Davis.
Viola Davis. Yeah, they made her look bad.
Very bad. Tina B, member of 3 months. George, panel, entertain me while I multitask. Will do. Always great to have you here. Thank you, Tina. Great to see you. Graph Web for $2. God bless America. Cancel Disney Plus. I agree with you. Love you. Right from the heart. Garfield's Bizarre Adventure, member for a month. Hail, George and panel. Hail to you, Garfield's Adventure. You know, I loved reading Garfield when I was a kid growing up. Had all the books. Cool cat. Mark of Reality, great to see you again. For $10, Falcon was partially inspired by the Tuskegee Airmen, but they ripped away that mantle, threw it away, and replaced it with a mantle of a white guy. This is progressive racism on display.
And they forget that he was one of the first black superheroes.
Nope, he's Latin now. Joaquin Torres, sorry, Paulie from Latino Slant, not giving him back. It's claimed him.
He's Falcone. He's Falcone now. Come on, Falcone. Thank you, Mark of Reality. You nailed it. Mark of Reality, member for 5 months. Hail, George Mantle. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you. It's going to be a great week, Mark. Can't wait to see you in our member stream this week. And probably within a few minutes, right after we wrap up Cap, something else, I'm going to show a teaser trailer that I've been waiting. Excited about it. The Dead Man for $5. George, did you see CBS tried to claim that part of the reason for the rise of Nazis was because of free speech and Marco Rubio smacked them down? No, I have it queued up. I haven't seen it. I saw the headline for it and right before the show. Maybe we'll just take a look at that a little bit. But thank you for reminding me of it. Thank you. TGV Monster gifted 1 Georgia Giant Slayer membership. Thank you, TGV Monster. Bless you. That means one more person going to be at the member stream this week. Love it. Everybody, go thank TGV. Mark Daly for $5. Don't know if the movie stars Falcon or Captain America, but it'll have legs like Professor X. I like that one. That's a good one.
You earned this.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You know, I didn't even know those other characters were in the film. I saw the art.
Just going like, that's not funny.
Under 500 million, right?
Yeah.
Oh, easy.
Darth Maul's lower half, another incredible name. For €5, you were the chosen one, Bob. You were meant to push for DEI, not abandon it. You were to prioritize marginalized people, not the most capable ones.
Like, I don't want to give him any credit because he's half the reason or most of the reason this shit's on, you know.
It is. And now he's got a big choice. Now he's got a big choice that he's going to have to face. Does he want to maintain his image at the Mouse House or actually rebuild Disney? Thank you, Darth Maul. Angela Richter, member for 13 months. Glad I could make it today. Glad you could be here. Wait for the little surprise coming out. Well, big surprise. Little surprise. That doesn't sound good. It's like popcorn shrimp. Doesn't make sense. Jason Webster for $5 Australian. The opening weekend earnings for Captain America Brave New World is lower than the opening weekend for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. It is, but see, Hollywood, I'm glad you brought it up. I'm glad that you brought it up. We're going to address that in 1 second.
Yep.
They're trying to spin it like this is gold. Beautiful.
Well, the one thing they have going for them is they don't have a shit ton of competition coming up for a bit. That's the only thing they have going for them.
And Blair to Blair gifted 5 Georgia Giant Slayer memberships. Bless you, Blair to Blair. Everybody, please go thank Blair to Blair. 5 more people at the member stream.
But to what you were talking about is they're trying to compare it to like Captain America from 2014 and a bunch of other stuff and hedging it all the way to the bank, basically.
Yeah, they're saying that it did better than Winter Soldier's opening weekend, which was hard to believe.
Also, a very different Marvel landscape. It was one of the first movies, first phases.
Let's just forget all that and just add in the fact of inflation and ticket prices differences.
That's
like,
even accounted.
Yeah.
13 million to 9 million. You know what? 13 is the adjusted for inflation one, but it's still we're 30 movies in as opposed to the whatever it was. Yeah.
Look at this. It says costing around 100. Well, hey, what did you do there?
It does that to me all the time too. Yeah, and I love how they keep reporting it at the budget instead of the actual cost of this thing, because we'll never know the actual cost of this.
That
thing,
180,
unfortunately,
that's the reshoots, right? That's like that last batch of
It could
reshoots.
be. That's the original budget.
That could be a lot of different things. That could be the number of the original budget. That could be the number of the reshoots.
Budget, I think.
Yeah, I think it's the original budget. Listen, man, this thing is well over $300 million.
We'll never know because they shot it in the U.S. Because unfortunately, if they shot it in the UK, we could actually pull the taxes next year, whatever it is, or the year after.
Yeah,
like Valiant and them guys do, and actually find out what the actual cost was. For this one, they've got some of the media basically backing them up on this. They're just running with this 180 like it's this is what it is. It's like no way.
Yeah,
we
but
all
for
know
months,
better than this.
Yeah, but for months they were saying something completely different. You had it from Forbes, you had it from Deadline, from Hollywood Reporter, even from Variety, where they were showing what the budget like. Oh, it's
this and Snow White were consistently brought up as how blown up their budgets have been for reshoots and like which one is going to lose more money because of how big they're. But if I ain't 180, that's for sure.
Well, let's look where Rotten Tomatoes ranks it based on the aggregate from all the scores. So the number one is Black Panther, and we go all the way down.
It's already kind of credibility shot if you start off by saying number one is Black Panther. What is the point in the rest of it?
I know, but it's from Rotten Tomatoes. This is how they rank by the scores, by the audience scores, I believe, and the critics scores.
Oh yeah, fuck that shit.
Well, even if you go to Cinema Score, it's got like one of the lowest.
Because you weren't allowed to give Black Panther a bad score
Yeah.
unless you were black, and even then you were called an Uncle Tom. So,
But I went through some of these. Let's just, because I wanted one day to do a stream after I saw this. Again, I saw this on Drinkers, and I was like, we really need to do a stream about these and rank these accordingly, appropriately, because look what they have. They have Shang-Chi at number 7. Shang-Chi is at number 7.
Oh man,
come on.
Yeah,
Like,
you can't trust Shields, man. These guys can't properly rate a movie, man.
See.
This is bad though. It's at the very bottom of almost everybody's list. It's in my bottom 5 for sure. I'm talking about Falcon America. It's at the bottom 5 in my list.
Right.
And it's the worst cinema score in MCU history.
Mm-hmm.
It's at the bottom of the Rotten Tomato rankings. I mean, this is a bad movie. No matter how many different ways you try to slice it, it's a bad movie. Everybody has this thing at the bottom or near the bottom.
Do you think Captain Marvel deserves to be at 21?
Hell no, man. No.
And Avenger, Captain America, the first Avenger at 20?
Right there with Cap. Oh, hell.
Yeah. And Black Widow at 22?
Yeah.
And Deadpool.
No way Captain Marvel's that good. That movie sucks ass.
I know it does. I'm just showing you. This is what Rotten Tomatoes put together. Incredible Hulk from 2008 at 29.
Bullshit.
And then you got, Thor Love and Thunder 31. Marvel's
one of the worst.
I agree. And then, so they even have Marvel's is better than Brave New World. Eternals and Ant-Man are last. Nope. Yeah. Eternals and Ant-Man. Wow. It's just,
there's one thing that's kind of accurate about the list, though, because we went through this movie on EFAP yesterday, and at the end, we did try to police it in the broader context. Where does it rank next to particularly other recent Marvel films? And the conclusion was that as bad as this movie is on its own terms, it's nowhere near as damaging as most of the other Phase 4 or Phase 5 movies were even. So it's shit, but actually, does it deserve to be criticized more than Ant-Man 3, Multiverse of Madness, Thor Love and Thunder, the Marvels? No, it doesn't. It's bad in its own ways, like those are in like the basic structural sense. The script doesn't hang together. It looks shoddily made, all of that stuff. But if you actually rank it by the amount of damage it does to the overall story, the amount that it tries to do and fails to do, the amount that it's going to impact future storytelling in the MCU, it's not as bad as those movies.
No,
so,
I agree with you there. 100%.
Well done to them, I guess. But they've lowered the bar to such a it's beneath the floor. James Cameron couldn't find it. They've done that, and now almost anything they make is going to be better than the competition, which is
Thunderbolts. They do great.
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to do great. Even if it's good, I think the damage is done to its brand. I will say one thing one of the things that stuck out to me worse is it felt like a TV series. It didn't feel like a movie. Did anyone else?
They don't know how to make movies anymore. That was the whole joke, right?
It didn't feel shot like a film.
That's what I'm saying. They literally don't know how, and then they literally don't know how. So everything looks and feels like a TV show.
Well, and they use the same cameras and everything now, and we had this
volume
personal. Yeah, we had this personal conversation, and this is where we've got to this point where TV shows look like movies and movies look like TV shows because they're all shot with the same cameras, same equipment, and all that kind of business. And especially when Disney's spending the same amount of money on their Marvel shows that they are on a movie. Right? Because that's really what they're doing is they're shooting like a big movie, then they just chop it up into little bits. And they don't even really have any semblance of episodes, it seems like sometimes, when it seems, because sometimes they've talked about how they've cut it in really weird ways because of that shit. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, like it's just it's
well, it's there because that's probably what we're gonna get for the foreseeable. Like when Ironheart comes out, obviously, and, Thunderbolts. That's why just let them get it out. Honestly, George, the only real mistake I think they're making is first Pedro's Mr. Fantastic.
Pedro,
doing Fantastic Four first and then resetting everything is fucking stupid to me. They should do everything, reset everything, and then give us the first family.
We had the same debate. We had the same debate on Open Bar, and everybody in the beginning disagreed with me. I said, just think about it from a marketing perspective. Do you want to start your year off with a success or with trash? Because remember, Fantastic Four, I hear what you're saying. I respect it. I disagree with it because I think from a marketing perspective, especially in the era, how many films have they had successful? I'm talking about that have been water cooler conversation success outside of Deadpool and Wolverine in the last 4 years.
They have
Spider-Man No Way Home.
That's it.
That's about it.
Okay, so that's you need to energize people, normies. Now, if you were to ask your average normie, do they know Superman or Fantastic Four? I bet you most people they're going to know Superman. How many know Fantastic Four? Seriously, normals.
Out of the 10 people out of 10 that know Superman, maybe 8 out of 10. They're not unpopular. They are pretty well known. I think it has less. I think it has more to do with just the fact that, and we had this conversation I think yesterday, George, where I think the comic book movie has kind of hit the skids, and it's their own fault. They could have rolled this out for another decade had they just kept pumping out Iron Man movies with Robert Downey Jr. and Captain America movies with Chris Evans and so on and so forth. We could be 7 movies deep now with those guys, and everything would be fine, and they'd still be bringing home $900 million to $1 billion paychecks every movie. Instead, they did this to themselves. We've also hit a point where even DC films can't seem to muster up any audience. I mean, the last Batman movie didn't do that well. If Superman fails, it did under 800, and it was right after and Joker made $1 billion. So like if Joker can make $1 billion and Batman can't, what the fuck's the problem?
Yeah, big problem.
Yeah, so that's a big issue there, and I think we just hit this point where it's like you and I were talking yesterday, where it's like Westerns were in the 70s, where they're just kind of tapering off. We're starting to see a lot more comic book stuff on television. I think that the future is going to be down to just mostly like Deadpool, Spider-Man, Batman, certain movies like that from time to time will do okay. But this Marvel thing, unless they find a way to reinvigorate it, like you're saying, I just don't see it working. And I think a lot of the audience just isn't going to show up for Robert Downey Jr.'s
I would say that's what we're discounting. You really don't? Depends on what they show us.
I don't think so.
I think they will, but for Pedro Pascal, which look, I don't know what the deal is, how he keeps showing up and everything. I'd like to know that.
That trailer has to be so goddamn good.
DA, what do you think? What do you think DA is the reason that Pascal is in everything? I mean,
he's an easy actor to cast. Most people like him. He does an okay job, pretty much whatever he shows up in. He probably checks a couple of boxes, Latino check boxes, kind of works for them, so they can, tout that. Ultimately, he's an okay actor. I don't find him he's not a bad actor.
No,
but at
I
the same
think
time, he's not this amazing actor that he needs to be in everything. He needs to be, Marvel, Star Wars, DC. He's in Game of Thrones. He's in The Last of Us. Now it's just like, come on, all right. He's an okay actor. He's good enough, but I don't think he's like an amazing.
I agree.
or
I
anything
think
like
he's
that.
decent. Like you said, I think he's decent. I enjoyed his performance in Game of Thrones, but I think that's the level. It's like there. I just keep seeing. Anyway, it's the rehash. 2 penny puppet for $5. Yeah, I don't plan on seeing it. Maybe 5 years from now, I might queue it up on streaming and watch like the first half hour.
I very much doubt anyone in 5 years' time will remember this movie exists. Because like even if, and I think the bet they are making is that Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Doctor Doom is the thing that will get lots of people back and engaged with this story. And I think if anything has a chance to do it for Marvel, it probably is that, because it's a well-known actor, well-known role. It reminds people of the time when those movies were good. He's playing a new part, so they don't necessarily think they have to have caught up on absolutely everything to understand it. They might be interested to see what's happened, how they got there. And a bunch of these movies that have come out between Endgame and whenever that Avengers movie comes out will just be empty, pointless nonsense because they don't lead anywhere. I don't even think that they're meant to lead into that movie. There's nothing about Captain America 4 that makes you think, oh, I can't wait to see whatever the fuck Falcon did in this movie, how does that impact the Avengers story that's coming? Because it doesn't seem to want to do that either. So in the ideal
he's
world,
the Avengers back together again, right? So it's like this guy's going to lead the Avengers.
you say that. I mean, it's mentioned once
what does
toward
that
the beginning
mean?
of the movie, and then it's kind of dropped, and it just doesn't come up until like right at the end when it's mentioned. Oh, so the movie begins by saying, "Yeah, you should bring the Avengers back," and he's like, maybe, yeah. And then the rest of the film happens, and then you get to the end of the movie. And the whole point of that movie is to change nothing. So the Avengers are not coming back. We don't know if he is going to make them. The question was posed, never answered. Same thing with Adamantium. Same thing with anything that might conceivably impact the rest of the story. It doesn't change anything.
That's really all it does is introduce Adamantium and move Ross.
It's setting up
along.
Thunderbolt.
Yeah,
which Chris Gore has said 1 billion fucking times now that I almost want to believe him, that the reason that there's an asterisk is because they're going to change it the last second to be the Dark Avengers. They'll point the trailer saying the Avengers aren't coming, and that's why Bucky, who's a congressman, hires
What
people
was
we
that?
don't give a shit about.
I can see that.
A congressman that came out of the blue.
Yeah, that's absolute madness.
The Winter Soldiers now, right?
But I just want to ask or point out to you guys, and this is the thing that I'm getting at here, is the last true Marvel film that was a hit that was not a Spider-Man movie or a Deadpool movie was literally Endgame.
Correct.
You go back to 2019, Black Widow bombed, Shang-Chi bombed, Eternals bombed.
But we know
Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange are the only two movies that made any money, and Doctor Strange fell off a cliff. Thor Love and Thunder fell off a cliff. Black Panther made half as much as the first movie did. Then you had Ant-Man and Quantumanium, and Guardians of the Galaxy is arguably broke even. And then you have Deadpool, and here we are now with Captain America. That's where we're at. And I see what you guys are saying, but they haven't had a chance to go away. See, that's the thing is I think people will be less apt to go, oh, I want to go see what they're doing now with Robert Downey Jr. and all this stuff. If, these movies had went away for a while, they haven't.
Had they
they're
done the
continually
original
being
plan,
shoved down our throat.
Had James Gunn and that whole shit not happened with him being fired for his tweets and he'd been allowed to do the space saga, we would have been dealing with space Marvel for a long time.
Yeah.
But that's why it felt so aimless, because they had to stop. And Feige tried what he tried. And if you believe Chris again, he said, hey, we tried it. It didn't work. And so they fired everyone. But great. You alienated everyone in the process and you got rid of everyone who had vision and knew how to make anything. And now we have a bunch of bad stuff that we have to get out. And yeah, maybe Tom Holland in a black Spider-Man suit and Secret Wars and fucking all the Wolverines will be enough hype. But good luck.
They better hope
I
so.
think
Yeah,
that shows
basically.
that these like side character Marvel movies aren't going to make it anymore. It's going to be something like Spider-Man, Avengers.
Has to be a
you have some
big
giant team up
event.
movies. That's it. If it's not that, it's going to be diminishing returns. And
They can't even get
sadly and
fucking
unfortunately,
Blade
we used to be able
together.
to sell those type of movies.
I mean, Blade should be a layup, right? Like, how hard is it? Like, that you can almost take as like, okay, we need to take a break, take a beat. So what should we do? Stop everything, make a Blade movie quick, because we can make that. That's an also ran thing tied into to Daredevil. Who gives a shit?
That
Whatever you want
is
to
now
do.
being saved. That apparently in all the Supernatural Werewolf by Night, that like had its moment. It didn't happen. Now they're waiting until after the reset. But yeah, that would be an easy slam dunk. We're talking with Bo tonight about about Blade and what he was writing before he got exited. Yeah, it seems like all that.
But even yet, better
shit.
yet, bring back Wesley fucking Snipes.
I would love that. That would be great. That would be great. Blitzen gifted 10 Georgia Giant Slayer memberships. Hey, Blitzen. Great to see you. How you doing? Thank you, my friend. Everybody go thank Blitzen. It's going to be a packed house this week. And now we are going to take a look at Disney. They are having a little bit of a civil war as it continues. Dissent grows at Disney over perceived capitulation to Trump as DEI initiatives diminished. Where's it go? Hey, get down there. The moves at Disney come amid a hard push by the new Trump administration to end DEI initiatives. In addition to defunding and banning such programs in the federal government, there have been widespread actions by Trump and his team against media companies, including Trump's now $20 billion lawsuit against CBS, and the FCC launching an investigation into Comcast policies to end the scourge of didn't earn it policies. It's like Chapek on steroids, one Mouse House insider exclaimed. A nod to the Don't Say Gay stumble in 2022 by Disney's short-term ex-CEO Bob Chapek after the now Bob Iger-run media giant unveiled shifts this week in its much-touted diversity, equity, and inclusion. How many times are they going to say DEI in like 3 paragraphs? In a memo to global staff Tuesday, Disney HR chief Sonia Coleman asserted that changes and other related moves were intended to line up with self-declared business goals and company values. So it comes down here. This is not what I expected from Bob. I thought he had our back. What's next? Where do we go from here? What do we stand for now? Keeping MAGA happy? So how do y'all think? You think this is Disney capitulating?
No, they're lying and obfuscating. The FCC just sent letters to NBC Universal and Comcast saying that we know about your DEI departments and they're super illegal. That's why they've hid them. That whole getting rid of Imagineering tomorrow and all that shit, and their bonuses for executives based on DEI. But then you look at their new stuff and they say it has much of the same framework. Like it's bridge, just changing the names of things so they don't get sued. But it's also
right. Well, Chris Hayes, like I shared it the other day, Chris Hayes has been going on to every network saying, the Democratic Party lost for one primary reason. One primary reason. We use the word diversity too much. Diversity is now a bad word, a dirty word, a dark word. So he's like, I have a solution. The Democratic Party and Hollywood should embrace something new. It's called patriotic pluralism.
Yeah. Euphemistic language. Baffle them with bullshit.
Platoon, you think language is going to change anything?
On its own, no. It depends as always, what is meant by the words that are now being used. Because there is an interpretation of patriotic pluralism, which is actually, that is exactly what you do need. Mm-hmm. Patriotic pluralism, the idea that the old-fashioned American idea that actually, anyone who lives here, anyone who is here legally, crucially, who commits themselves to the American dream, who espouses American values, can be patriotic. Like the country isn't going to exclude you because of your background. Yes. It's pluralistic, but it's also unifying. It's not multicultural. It's the melting pot idea. Like if that's what they mean by it, which they probably don't because it's Chris Hayes, then that would be great. But because it isn't what they mean by it, it'll be. I don't know if the law will have to change in order to make any meaningful change. You do actually have to convincingly show that most of these DEI policies are straightforward racism, which is kind of what they are. But also, corporate culture will respond more quickly than governments will. There's a reason most of the fight the Trump administration has to implement these new policies is with its own departments, because companies have all kinds of feedback mechanisms which show them that the writing is very much on the wall. They are losing money. It's very unpopular. The audience doesn't like it. And eventually they have to account for their shareholders. And so, of course, they will start making moves back to make money because they have no money left. It's great. Private companies are pretty responsive to this sort of thing. Government departments, not so much.
They have to end this stakeholder capitalism bullshit is what they need to do.
I agree with you about if it was actually real pluralism, a patriotic pluralism, I'd be all for it. But he was stating it as in it will be the same thing as DEI. We just need to change the name. It's the branding he believes that is bad. That's been damaged.
I think they'll try, and I don't think that you guys are wrong that they won't have several attempts at this. But I think Little Platoon is right, and I think Trump is smart, and he's onto this, and Musk is onto this shit, especially when it comes to Disney and Bob Iger, because make no mistake about it, that's ground zero, right? And Bob Iger got on Elon's radar.
Oh,
remember that, and never forget that. And Bob and Bezos were also at Mar-a-Lago not too long ago, so this is why those people are panicking at Disney. They're freaking the fuck out. And to them, it may be seen as capitulating to Trump, when a lot of it is just more so as we don't have this outside money anymore from whatever you said was fucking funding and, you know, the BlackRock stuff and all that other kind of stuff, because a lot of it's moving on to other things and they just don't have the money anymore because Trump and Musk are smart enough and they're cutting the money off at the source on a lot of these things. It's going to take time.
You just saw the EPA. You're right.
Yeah.
You look at the EPA. You had the head of the EPA just found $20 billion in an offshore bank account.
This is a 50-year project of what is started now. Will take at least 5 decades to fully.
I hope not.
Yeah, I don't think so.
There's a guy named Mike Vince, the expert on USAID. He's been talking about it since the 60s. Also, I'll quote him. He's the one that talks about that this is a 50-year thing. It's great that we've started this, but the lasting ramifications of just decades of control will take that long to see the
You're not going to unwind this in a couple of years. This is going to take a long time.
No, in that aspect, I believe. But I believe once you bring a idea out into the sunlight and it gets killed, everything else is just a battle you won. Yeah. Again, a lot of this seems to be 76-year-old aunt knows DEI. I say that probably every couple of months in context. When she knew DEI, I knew it was dead. Everything else is just going through. It's like having the Japanese warrior 5 years after World War II who's still fighting. He doesn't know. You're going to have fights. But I think.
So, do you think the ideological battle has been won now that Disney is starting to bend the knee and that Trump is in office? I don't think the ideological battle has been won yet. I think
the idea has won. I don't.
No, it hasn't. Cold War, Yuri Bezmenov in the '80s, and here we fucking are.
I know, but I think change is happening much faster when you talk to people, and your average person now is, unless people go back to sleep. I guess I'll make that exception.
Well, I think it's going to be the shell game. I think it's a shell game where, all right, the marble was once under this coconut. We got to switch it around, move it around, like you guys have said, to hide it. All right, we got to continue to camouflage what it is that we're trying to do because ultimately we still want to get across our ideology. I don't think anything's changed over there at Disney at all. I think that they're just trying to, obfuscate.
That one too. Obfuscate.
Obfuscate. Thank you.
They're
trying to hide what it is they're trying to do. They're going to put it under a lot of different shells. They're going to switch the shells around in the shell game to try to make everybody, completely, go to sleep.
People get tired.
They've gotten rid of DEI. Great. All right, cool. And now I'm back to sleep. But
you have already
it's still going to be out there.
Some of the effects. I mean, like away from media, obviously, like most of the big banks have now jumped ship from the big ESG funding mechanisms that they themselves created. So that's already been a fairly big shift. Disney's advertising on Twitter again, having first, pulled its advertisements off because it saw which way the winds were blowing. But in the field of media, I think you're already seeing a fairly significant shift towards, and this is not necessarily an improvement, it's just bad in a different way. If you look at the Falcon and the Winter Soldier and the messaging that was pushing, and this is the direct lead-in to Captain America 4, which then read the tea leaves, saw how unpopular that very divisive, very particular political messaging was, did reshoots and rewriting to get rid of almost all of it. The number of lines you see that have been ADR'd out in Captain America 4, I'm pretty damn sure most of those would have been the Vulcan complaining about how hard it is to be a black man carrying the shield. But they realized that wasn't popular.
Here.
Yeah,
they replaced analogy January 6th before
they replaced it with generic symbolism. The reason there were so many lingering shots of him picking up the shield, and the reason the film keeps saying this is Captain America, is because they've decided to they've removed all of the very unpopular stuff. They just don't really have anything to replace it with yet. So that's a big shift. It's not preaching at you in the same way, but it's also not good because there's still no quality. They still have no story to tell. They've just taken away the one thing they wanted to say, and as a result, they are now saying nothing. And we'll probably be in for a long period of that with movies. I half suspect the Superman movie will be something slightly similar. It'll be it'll be generically patriotic and uplifting. It'll have nothing meaningful to say. And
honestly, I don't know about that platoon. That one
Really?
I'm not sure, because you have Rachel Brosnahan already out there trumpeting in more than one place now. She said the truth, justice, and American way.
Mhm.
She said it more than once now, so it makes me wonder. And I think they might be pushing a little bit more towards that now. And I think you're right. I think you're 100% right, Little Platoon. I think there was another version of this film, and a lot of this swing seems to be happening quicker than I even anticipated it. Script Doctor was predicting we'd start seeing the changes this year, but I think we're already kind of getting they're almost like they're working overtime. The fact that they're editing a lot of this shit out of these movies between the Inside Out deal. That Pixar TV show they had. What was the other movie recently?
The animated Disney one that they cut it out of.
Yeah, Win or Lose. Yeah, that's the show. But there was another movie too that I'm trying to think of offhand, but I can't remember. But
Film Threat, Alan Ng was talking about. There was an Iranian one that was almost done that got entirely canned,
scrapped or whatever.
Yeah, so enough that they are really course correcting.
And this was happening before Trump was in office. So we got to remember, and that just expedited. That's what I'm saying. I'm even surprised that there's less of the only resistance I'm really seeing out of Hollywood, at least personally. I can't speak to you guys who are actually out there who see this stuff on the ground. Most of what I'm seeing as far as the resistance is coming mostly from the creative side. The upper echelon people are keeping their mouths shut,
to be on board.
They're rubbing shoulders with Trump. Exactly. Yeah. So everybody else is no, and that's exactly what I've been talking about is going to happen, and they're going to freak out. They're going to try and destroy some things. Hopefully, the people that are the money people will be like, no, enough's enough, and we'll get past this a little quicker than not. But yeah, it's going to take another year or two before some of this stuff we get past it. And it's never fully going to go away.
Well, no, it's not, because you're going to have ideologues, just like socialism. You're going to have socialists, you're going to have communists, you're going to have Marxists.
Well, they even had, I can't remember what his name was, but he was up at the WGA thing this last weekend here, talking about how to put messaging into stories and how it's still important and all this kind of crap. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. The creative people still see it as their mission to teach us how to be.
Gilligan?
Was that who it was? Maybe
it was the last one we were talking about, but his was a little all over the place because it sounds like he's talking about Trump and the bad guys taking over the world, but then he mentions the people who are controlled in Hollywood, which makes me think he was talking about an entirely different thing. Yeah, I think that was it. But either way, just make good shit with compelling characters, please.
Yeah, but it's about every aspect of society. You start with that. I agree. Flying blind on a rocket cycle for $5. Dealing with a name changes to DI, sort of like a game of Orwellian whack-a-mole. I can see that. I like that. We got Dragon Master for $20. Both Trump and Elon are the power team America needed. They managed to.
They are Team America.
Hell yeah, they are. That's why I like to use the Justice League poster with them that I have for a thumbnail, with him and Musk and RFK and Tulsi. Both they managed to uncover the corruption buried within the deep state for years within a matter of weeks. The state is losing its mind because they underestimated Doge. Oh yeah, most definitely. Thank you for that, Dragon Master. And then Mark of Reality. Whoa, here you go. Mark of Reality for $2. The public is smart. We look for word definitions, especially right now. Everyone.
I'd love to believe that. I don't have that much faith in the public.
Corner of the
public knows what it likes and what it doesn't like, and it's quite good at that. It's not particularly good, I don't think, at analyzing the semantics being used. There's all sorts of examples of this. This came up on a stream a few days. I think it was Echo Chamberlain stream. We were talking about this, the way in which branding is used in this country, the UK. We had Tony Blair as Prime Minister before he got in. Polled the public extensively on their attitudes towards traditional labor policies like nationalizing industry. And as soon as you say nationalization, it's really, really unpopular because everyone remembers how shit that is. So the Labour Party polled again. They said, what do you think of the concept of public ownership? And the public said, we really like that idea, because the public assumed that meant everybody owned shares in everything, because that was the Thatcher Revolution. It meant the same thing. Public ownership is nationalization. But the polling difference was enough to get him elected in a landslide. And that's just fucking around with words, because the public doesn't necessarily pay attention to the specific words being used. And that's why we always have to react to mistakes that have been made, because we've been sold a false prospectus. So the public at the moment knows not to like DEI or diversity, equity, and inclusion. The public doesn't like the ideas. That's the more important thing that animate DEI policies. But if you rebrand it something and you call it, say, pluralistic, whatever the fuck, patriotism, then you might find a lot of people say, no, we want this instead. And it might even amount to the same thing. And it'll take 10 years before the public wakes up to that fact.
I hope not, Platoon, because once you kill an idea and it's gotten into the public domain that this is bad, I'm hoping that they look past the names and don't fall into the same trap when they see the result is identical. Oh, it's not called DI anymore, but it's called, populist pluralism.
Well, the one thing you have going for the public, or at least the general public has going for it, is that their language has been policed so badly in the last 8 years or 16 years, however long you want to say that this shit's been going on. So I know some people will be arguing that it's been going on longer, which it technically has. I can't disagree with that, but I just didn't think it was at the level it was until basically, Trump. basically, like that really brought it out.
2013, I think, is the like evergreen college and like the takeover. That's when you start seeing
it all
it. That
kind of
was still
happened
when
under
they were,
Obama. Yeah,
don't worry about it. It's just these lefties. They're in the colleges. They're going to get out in the real world. It's going to hit, and then the real it got back by, and we know where here we are.
And then we get to today.
Yeah,
I think she was brilliant.
Oh, really? Y'all talk about taking what to the streets? I hear you Democrat politicians talking about taking something to the street. We got to use violence. Oh, yeah? Y'all want this smoke? Well, come on out to the street because there's a whole bunch of angry taxpayers, baby. And I don't think you got enough bodyguards for us, honey. So you watch what you say. And now y'all want to sing civil rights songs? What side are you on? What side are you on? Really? We ain't on your damn side. We on God's side. Because y'all the devil. Y'all the devil. And how dare y'all talk about violence? The party of love and happiness. Yeah, right.
She's brilliant. I mean, she goes on because of the fact that you had a lot of these protesters in D.C. that Brandon Straka was covering. It was brilliant when you take a look at the clips that he has shared. And they were singing civil rights songs from the 60s. And he's like, what the hell are you doing? It's like, and Brandon is brilliant. I mean, you're talking, I have to show you this one clip. I think I shared it this week. Where did it go? Straka was going and trying to, where is he? Brandon, there we go. And he was not cornering people, but he was asking them certain questions, trying to get them to think for a moment. And he kept trapping them in their own little games just by what they were saying. Hold on. 1 second. Come on, Jesus. How much do you post? It was here yesterday. It's like, wow. Okay, next. Dude, it's like.
Do you need some music?
No. I'm just.
I got elevator music.
Cool Spider-Man suit. Where'd you
Please
get it?
Hold.
Hey, I kind of like that.
You got to get the music disarm the bomb, like the real fast panicky action music.
Yeah, I might have something like that on here.
Come on, George, hurry! Oh God, the bomb! Yeah. Blue wire.
I found
sucks is this doesn't have the little lady from Impamina.
If you haven't followed Brandon Straka, you should check Brandon Straka out. He's genius.
What does this sign mean to you?
Black women are probably the least respected in America. Their voices aren't heard. Their issues aren't paid attention to. Many white women look beyond their own personal interests and they leave Black women out of the conversation. And I think America needs to change about that.
What are we not trusting them to do right now?
How to care for our country, how to care for each other, how to stand up and fight for things that aren't right.
Millions of Black women voted for Trump. Should we trust them?
I'll take your hand in mine.
Got him.
It's true. Millions of Black women voted for Trump.
Way too many. It is.
Should we trust them?
I don't know.
Maybe not trust Black women then.
That's not true. I do trust Black women.
Vote.
Black women are a real problem.
Kamala Harris.
Side upside down.
I think. He wants to know if I trust the Black women who voted for Trump.
Why she voted against her own interests?
Wants
so
permission.
It's really hard to put the idea of trust together with someone who is continuing to vote against themselves, right?
So it sounds like they don't have very good judgment.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it's not having good judgment. I don't think they necessarily connect the dots. And I do.
They're stupid.
No, they're not stupid. But I think it's.
No, I'm just asking but it is hard to trust people who are stupid and have bad judgment, right? And Black women who vote for Trump are stupid and have bad judgment.
We did not say that. Nope.
They don't connect the dots, and so they're looking at only certain things and thinking that's important, and not connecting the dots.
It sounds like those Black women need to be educated by white women like you.
Yeah, not
true. Not.
They just need a good white woman to come in and tell them what's up.
You're putting words in our mouths again, and you're trading it.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to do that.
This idea that white people are going to be the white saviors fucking pisses me off.
But if white women like you don't educate them, how are they ever going to learn to vote the way that they're supposed to vote?
you know, as a white woman, I'm happy to help educate and talk to people, but it's not my job to go convince somebody else.
I hope you're able to get through to some of those untrustworthy, stupid black women. Good luck.
He's just, I love him.
We really, really need to restrict the franchise. I'm telling you, man. We really-
By the way, that's white privilege. That's white
Oh my
privilege.
God.
You cannot
he
like
turned
Gavin
it around
Newsom.
and asked her that, and she's like, "Yeah."
I cannot vote for Gavin Newsom, and no one blames me for being a race traitor or saying that I'm an Uncle Timmy or whatever for not voting for a white dude. But if DA doesn't vote for a black president because he doesn't agree with the policies, how dare you? How dare you not support your people?
I'm sorry, y'all. I can't do it. I can't do it.
It's too much fun. It's too much fun because Straka is just, but he always does that when he's talked to them because he'll like set them up by just asking straight questions. Oh, so it's trust all black women. And yes, even the ones who voted for Trump.
She had to keep turning to her friend to get the answer to her question. That's the major problem. These people shouldn't be voting at all.
Group
You
think.
do
They all
realize
share a
that
brain.
Trump voters drink water. What do you think of that?
Yes, it's crazy.
Will it stop you from drinking water?
Water's racist.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Okay, now the time has come. Something I wanted to share with everybody before we move on to the next subject. I have for a long time been working on something. Slayer Nation's been working on something. Syndic and I are going to be putting out I don't even know what to call it, a video or more like a short 30-minute film. I don't know. I guess that's why. Yeah, short film. So does anybody remember the vagina monologues?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
unfortunately,
when they came out. Okay. Anyway, so a while back, it's this. I started putting together what I call the woke monologues because we've all talked about woke from one aspect or another, and
you should just roll the trailer.
I will, but you got to do a little setup. I want to share what it's about for a second. Because everybody has addressed woke from one perspective or another. Some people address it from politics, education, culture, movies. So I wrote something, for lack of a better word, that's a monologue. And I'll play this short teaser for it first. And it'll come out next Sunday. So every day I'm going to be dropping clips.
I was just saying, it felt like you were building up to a gift. You just got to give the gift, man.
I know. I'm Greek. You got to like
crazy.
George, what are you doing in Vegas?
I'm here for 3 hours. 3 hours. The funeral said the execution is happening. 3 hours. So we can read the eulogy for woke and put the final bullet in it. This is where history gets written today, to bury woke into the ground for good. Ladies and gentlemen, woke is dead, and I'm here to read the autopsy report.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't. So what I did was I wrote almost a 33-minute monologue covering every aspect of woke that we've gone through, from politics, culture, education, Hollywood, you name it, from the beginning till the election till today, I believe the idea has been dragged out into the sunlight and everything else is just the battle that remains. I think unless people again go to sleep. I think this is it. I think this is the moment when you build up enough momentum, change happens exponentially, especially when you have someone like Trump, when you have someone like RFK, when you have Musk. They're not people they're not typical people. They're not going to sit there and go, oh, we did 10 things, we did 60 things, and that's it. They're going to keep going at this pace. I don't think it's going to stop. I think it's going to escalate. 200,020 employees are about to be terminated because they're probationary employees. Have we ever had a president of the United States and a team shrink the size of government in almost less than a month? In another week, it's going to drop by another 10%. And they're going after the 220,000 probationary employees because they're not under civil service laws. They're not under the union. It's just easy. They're like, look, we don't need these. Because the way the federal government views probationary employees is that it's a continuation of their employment process. Until they become unionized, they can be axed. No reason necessary. Anyway, yes, it is. Yep.
But didn't Reagan and Clinton do respective budget? I mean, I know that the last time the budget was balanced was under Clinton. I think he laid a bunch of people off. I know Reagan certainly did. I can't remember exactly how many
would call
that
those
was.
masturbatory, not actual.
Very
just
small.
yeah, look at these.
Yeah.
This is the first time since JFK, essentially, that we've had someone actually executing the will, because all of their assassination attempts failed, and the people's like champion, for more lack of a better term, actually got in.
I
And
guess
they are cutting house.
the point I'm making, though, is that like you have had episodes before where presidents have come in and said, we will shrink the size of government, we will shrink the size of the state. They've made cuts, they've axed people, they've shrunk the federal workforce temporarily. And here we are now in the year 2025, and the budget deficit's like $30-something trillion, and the government's way bigger. And actually, even if you shrink the size of the federal workforce by 20%, it's only shrinking it back down to the level it was at in, say, like the 1980s. The direction of travel is just the same. It's like there's been a few intermissions.
No,
and
the
so,
USAID is where all our money was going, and they just fucking ended that. It's
I
just
mean,
the start. That was just
respectfully,
one.
that's
we haven't
not.
been a month.
USAID accounts for its budget was about $60 billion. The federal budget deficit's $30 trillion.
$2 trillion actually came out of USAID in total, and that was. This is just but the tip. This is no window dressing, and it's wait till Kesh Patel gets got in the FBI.
Though. I think that's the difference,
Yeah,
because
just the
Trump
beginning.
had stated that they want to at least cut the government in half, and that's not only by employee size, that is by departments and budget. Like they said, the first year, $2 trillion. They want to say that's Doge's goal, and that's just the first year. And Trump wants to get rid of the Department of Education. He's already told them, start winding it down. He wants to cut, I also believe, the EPA. He wants to annihilate that because he says it should return to the states. Basically, everything should return back to the states.
Which is correct. I mean, I love all of that. I'm like Ron Swanson, slash it. It's great fun to watch. I would just be slightly skeptical that this is going to be this massive sea change in the future of American democracy, given every time this happens, it just continues in the same direction at a slightly slower pace for a time. Because the biggest budget items are not going to be touched.
Defense? That's what he was saying.
Well, defense is, because defense, you could argue, is the only one that shouldn't be touched, because you do actually need to at least keep pace with China. That's fair enough. But, Trump comes in and says, I will not touch Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. If you're not going to touch either of those things, you can cut the size of government. You can slash $2 trillion. And I don't believe they will, but you can try. But that's not going to make a material difference, because people like to think that they are entitled to these massively expensive programs that there aren't enough people working to fund. Again, the trick of the language, they call them entitlements, because lots of people think, I paid my money in, therefore I'm entitled to the benefits. If you were only taking out of that system the money you paid in, you would be out of money within about 10 years of retirement. These are not entitlements. They are massively expensive benefits programs. And unless you're going to look at some way of altering the funding for that, then you're still going to be left with a government which has to grow bigger, because the welfare state demands that it does. You'll never balance your budget, and you'll never really redress the major problems. There's a massive fiscal cliff coming, and Trump at the moment can only just about hope to try and avoid it. But that's temporary.
I agree with you on that. If you don't touch Social Security and Medicare, we're facing a big problem. But I don't think Trump would touch that. But I think the first thing he wants to do is return the government to the people.
Which is good. Yeah, and I don't want to sound like I don't think any of this is worth doing. It's absolutely worth doing. It's just
foundation. He wants to fix the foundation. So then, whether it's J.D. Vance and the Tulsi Gabbard or whoever he anoints for to come after him, we'll be able to.
This is the multiple decade part. It's not going to be just Trump in one administration. You have to keep going.
But he wants to
keep
build
going.
the foundation. He wants to fix the foundation and go, okay, look. And I think he will eventually tackle Social Security, but I think it's going to be a learning. I think it's going to take people slow. It's going to be look at what everything we did in the first 2 years, because he mentioned it once, because he said it 150 times. I will never touch Social Security. But one time he said, have you ever thought of retirement accounts? Like, wait, one time.
But
He's
also,
like,
little platoon, the reason people think they're entitled is I paid into it. I'm fucking entitled to it. So you got to find a way to pay the people that are entitled and paid into it their whole lives to get theirs while transitioning to a better way. But first, you have to get rid of all the bloat that has occurred over multiple decades. And that's going to take a couple administrations, probably, to be quite frank. That's why you can't stop. You have to keep going with the same level of piss and vinegar all the way through.
I know, it's a fascinating thing to watch, certainly from the outside, because there's a great chance that I'm completely wrong in my analysis of the massive fiscal problems that America is facing, and I hope that I am. And the really interesting thing to watch is that lots of things are being done that haven't been done for such a long time, and so maybe assumptions will have to be challenged, including my own. It might be that I'm incorrect about all of this. I certainly love seeing these massive shifts happen. I think it's exciting to watch. I would just be cautious about going too deep into the whole, this is a world-changing event, this is like a once-in-a-millennium opportunity and everything will be fixed forever, because history isn't kind to that kind of exuberance.
I agree. I think the problem is even if it, let's say on the brightest side, even if it were all fixed, things can get fucked up overnight. I mean, we've seen that things can change overnight. You have to, that's why I believe he's going after the foundation. You fix the foundation, people get educated, people are starting to critically think, or at least 1% to 2% who can impact the rest of the majority. So things do not so easily go back to what they were. But if you maintain the system that we've had, it's just financially, we're going off a cliff. We're going bankrupt.
And also, people believing it's a once-in-a-lifetime event sometimes makes them go above and beyond when they... I don't really give a fuck if it is a once-in-a-lifetime, but I need them to act like it is, because this is all we have.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I think a big change is coming. Anyway, so put all that together. That's one of the things that I did is I worked on this monologue for a very long time. So we'll see. So I'm going to release it next Sunday. I'll be dropping clips and behind the scenes stuff every day.
Can you give us any spoilers?
Spoilers? You mean like a preview of it? Well, do I have? No, those spoilers aren't ready. I mean, I could. I will during the week, but I'll send you some. I will.
Thank you. It looks exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Because what I guess, I don't know. Spoilers. I guess I could say, well, wait. I might have something in a minute. Let me be right back. Hold on. Let me check. And we have Robert Meyer Burnett joining us.
Sorry, I'm late, gents. How are you all?
Doing well.
Good.
How are you doing?
I know he's not here, but it's Verbal's birthday today. So happy birthday, Verbal.
Yeah, happy birthday, Dante.
And happy birthday to you, Robert.
Yeah, happy birthday, Robert.
You share a birthday.
Tom, I forgot.
Y'all share a birthday. How about
Happy birthday,
How did we know that?
Isn't that weird?
Wow.
You always show up, even on your birthday. It's so nice of you.
Always.
It is. He's a gentleman. He's a gentleman. Oh my God.
2026, we'll still be doing it.
I'm going to put this up real quick. I'll be right back. Can y'all hold on? Vamp. This is about Snow White, because they're saying that the box office is already looking like a poison apple since it comes out in a month from now. So we all vamp for a second, talk about it. I will be right back.
Robert, did you see Captain America?
I did.
Was it everything?
I'm going to, I think Captain America is a really interesting example of failure. and I say this because when I was watching Captain America, let's take away all the reshoots and whatever went on behind the scenes. There's 6 writers on that film.
Yep.
And I'm going to do a story about this tonight. I really think that we are now we've moved into an era, especially with these IPs. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is always taking other genres and incorporating them, like with Winter Soldier. It was they were leaning into 70s conspiracy thrillers, Parallax View. They brought in Robert Redford because he was in 3 Days of the Condor and All the President's Men and all of that, and written by Marcus and McFeely, who are older writers. It's clear to me that a lot of these writers are not familiar with the genres that they're writing in. And when I was watching, the thing about Captain America, there's a lot of scenes in there that are fine, but Captain America himself has no story. There's no story for, like, the really interesting thing that, for instance, and I kept thinking, I'm going to talk about this now on my own show, the Jack Ryan movie, Clear and Present Danger. If you've seen that, it's 30 years old now, should have been the template, which is, of course, Tom Clancy writing the modern techno thriller with Harrison Ford starring in Clear and Present Danger, could have been the template for what this movie would have been, with Captain America in the role of Jack Ryan. And then Jack Ryan is now the president, was Donald Moffat's character. And all of the things you would have wanted from this movie could have been done. But I bet you the people that wrote Winter Soldier or Brave New World have never seen Clear and Present Danger, or this cacophony of writers, because nothing in the film, it's not a story. And the only story that really exists is Thunderbolt Ross's story. And by the end of the movie, let me ask you, I got a question to ask you guys.
Yep.
Did Thunderbolt Ross know he could turn into the Red Hulk?
No.
No,
Not
that
in
was
the
part
movie.
of the leader's plan.
Of course.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was a revenge story for the leader. I thought it was the leader's revenge story, and that's the story.
But to Robert's point,
it really doesn't have anything at all to do with Captain America. I'm not sure what his objective is, other than just to do what he's told. And it's everybody else's story is in operation.
His job is to be
is
called
the
Captain
leader.
America a lot, so everyone associates him with Captain America now. The Red Hulk thing, I think, is the closest you're going to get in this movie to any evidence that they've watched anything besides their own movies, and even that's questionable. It's kind of like the Manchurian Hulk. That's the very, very vague idea they ran with, and they did not pull it off.
No, but the thing about that is we know he's taking these pills. He's the president of the United States. He's Thunderbolt Ross. He's had the leader on ice working for him, doing whatever he's doing. Like, the president never thought during all of this time that he's taking they were upping the gap. Like, he never had anybody. He didn't have anyone follow up. You know, with these things that he's
remember,
putting
the leader
into
was
his,
saving his life, right? So I guess the leader's the main doctor, I guess, keeping him alive.
But
so
does that mean that anybody who takes these pills can become a Hulk?
I guess so. It would be, if you think about it.
And I'm looking at this going, well, this like, so he turns into the Hulk, and he hulks out, and he goes on a berserker rage, which I mean, nobody's seen particularly. You know, you've got that one reporter who goes, "Are they supposed to be red?" Like, no.
Yeah, and why were they shooting him? The Secret Service, weren't they supposed to be protecting the president when they started shooting? I'm like,
and after the Hulk, after we now have She-Hulk and we now have the Hulk in the Marvel universe, why would a Red Hulk? Why would people be necessarily terrified right away of the Hulk?
Good point.
Like,
Somebody,
you know, so that's just one small part.
Baby Hulk.
The real problem, and if you look at Clear and Present Danger, Clear and Present Danger starts out with a drug cartel hit on a ship at sea.
Oh, that was great.
The coast. So it has a sort of a mystery. You have the drug cartels. The president authorizes an unauthorized attack across international borders. There's so much more going on in Clear and Present Danger. And I just kept thinking, as I was watching the movie, this film, if you just took the structure and made Captain America Jack Ryan as it was in that film, it all would have worked. You had great action sequences. You have all these peripheral characters. You've got the drug dealing kingpin. You've got his henchmen. You've got all of this stuff going on that works beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
But this film, none of it held together. Like, for instance,
did it feel like a film to you though, first, or TV series? Because that's what I was saying earlier. Felt like it was shot like a television series, real quick, not the.
Well, I mean, I felt what was so weird is, like, you're asking me to believe that the only people that are interested in the celestial that's come out of the ocean are India, France,
and Japan.
Not China.
You said it though. Captain America didn't have a story. Like,
yeah,
Captain America movie, and he didn't have a story.
He didn't have.
Wait. Do you think they changed that China? It feels like it should have been China. It feels like it should have been China, and did they change that at the last minute so that they can get this thing introduced?
Exactly. That's why Japan is there. Japan won't be offended if you cast them as the villain, and you'll still be able to sell your movie there. Whereas the Chinese will not let you sell their movie if you say anything disobliging about China.
But the funny thing about it is the Japanese. It was America that was double crossing the Japanese. You know,
Yeah,
it was
you're right.
if you had China, because in that part of the world, does China? I have this article I want to read tonight on my show, but does China not exist in the MCU? And you know, you're watching this film and you're trying to believe in the credibility of this, and the idea is, so the Celestials coming out of the Earth. No one mentions that any geologist could have told you if this thing finished emerging, it would have cracked the planet in half, and nobody mentions Arishem the judge.
No.
That was at the end of Eternals saying, I'm going to come back and judge the earth.
Right, but Robert, they haven't mentioned it in 4 years. How have they ignored the Celestial?
Robert, we haven't seen the Eternals. How do you expect the writers to watch this shit?
Well, I mean, but I think they tried to make this movie a sequel to everything but a Captain America movie.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying at the beginning. This is not Captain America 4. This is Hulk 2, Bucky and Falcon show part 2. This is a bridge to the Thunderbolts. It's everything but an actual fucking movie. And this is what Martin Scorsese was saying when people give him a bunch of resistance. This is what he was talking about. He wasn't talking about, Iron Man and stuff like that. He was talking about these movies where they don't exist for any other reason than to get you from point A to B in some other story that isn't this fucking movie.
But
that's not what a movie should be.
The MCU wasn't like that. And I think the people that they have writing these films, it's across all of our genre programming, the people that are writing these things don't have any kind of education in these genres. No. They don't know what these are. When you say to people, like for instance, as a counterpoint, when Chris Carter created X-Files, it was clearly inspired by both Kolchak the Night Stalker, and which, by the way, only ran one season and had 2 TV movies. But then you had things like The Parallax View and like all the paranoid conspiracy thrillers of the 70s, like as Platoon brought up, Frankenheimer's Manchurian Candidate. All of those things were very apparent in the DNA of the X-Files, and all the people that worked on the X-Files, people like Vince Gilligan, who went on to create Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. All of these people that were writing knew what this stuff was. They could refer to it in the writers' rooms. They understood what those things were, what was happening, whether it was Marathon Man, whatever, take your pick. I don't think that the people that were writing this movie, I have to do the research. There's 6 writers. What is their backgrounds? I mean, Marcus and McFeely that wrote both Infinity War and Endgame and Civil War and Winter Soldier are older writers. They knew the genre that they were working in.
When you have people, and this comes from like the Film Threat story and the other stuff that all of us have covered in the past, when you have people who are working on Disney animation who've never seen Snow White, never seen Pinocchio, never seen 101 Dalmatians, never seen any of these classic, Cinderella even, right? That's what most of these writers are. Could you really think they've even heard of the Manchurian Candidate,
and
let
they don't
alone
read the
seen
comics,
it?
and they fell upward laterally.
No way.
But the problem with that is
then they up the credits for the writers. So one of the writers wrote Princess and the Frog and Treasure Planet.
There you go.
And the other writer, he wrote on Empire, and then he also wrote I guess Bel Air, the Fresh Prince of Bel Air's TV series.
The new one, or the
the
old
new one.
Okay.
And Hip Hop Uncovered. So there it is. I don't see any
like Robin Hood,
Manchurian Candidate or anything like that.
They fell upwards and laterally, and they do the same sins in every. That's why they all seem the same. It's because
it's
points out, no one has any life
they're
experience.
clearly black guys. This guy's a black guy, Malcolm Spellman. Clearly, he's a black dude.
But
they pulled some black
Spellman
writers, and they said, "Hey, here's your opportunity to work on a Marvel movie. Let's put this on your resume. Let's go."
But
Spellman's
exactly a talented
What
guy.
about the director? The director was horrible. I didn't like the direction it was going. Did you see some of the shots, the way they were framed?
He directed the Cloverfield Paradox.
Paradox,
god awful.
Robert,
Yeah,
that's one of the things though. Is people that are good, they get given it for the wrong reasons, and they get dragged down, and it looks horrible on them instead of if they would put on the right project.
Right, but I also think that's on them. Rings of Power got renewed for season 3. Rings of Power got renewed for season 3. What is the first thing that they say? We're going to do like a 15-year time jump. Hold on, I have it here. And then they decide to announce their directors again. And this year for season 2, they had said, we were doing something groundbreaking. We had 5 female directors. They didn't say if they had the talent, the skill, the ability. Okay. Well, now they're going to have the same directors, but they're adding a dude. Charlotte Brandstrom is one of the directors of season 2 of Panderings of Power. So she's going to be back for season 3. Charlotte Brandstrom directed Shogun.
Panderings of Powers. Did you coin that? That's funny.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I like Panderings about it's one of my Charlotte Brandstrom did an amazing job for Shogun. I don't know if anybody's seen it. I love Shogun. She did an amazing job, but here she is. So who do you blame here, right? Where did you go? Here you.
You blame her for saying yes to something,
Well,
even though
yes,
it's a paycheck.
that's why I would blame, because she would know, because you have history. You've seen what they allow you to do. Blame director Charlotte Brandstrom. Right.
But this is just the racist fans that don't accept that they tried to put diversity and look like, you know what I'm saying? Do you think they believe their own spin and that's why they say yes to do these things?
Well, I mean, the thing is, you know, understanding a genre has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do. It has to do with understanding story. And I think that now we have people working in all of our IPs that they haven't even watched the IP that they're working in. and they're not familiar with even genre tropes that you need to understand in order to write an effective fantasy. Like if you're making a 70s paranoid thriller, or you're doing some kind of a political thriller. I mean, Tom Clancy, if you think about the Jack Ryan novels,
Without Remorse, great.
That was a touchstone, you know, starting with Hunt for Red October. Patriot Game's only okay, but Clear and Present Danger is a great template to follow. And all you know, watch those movies. Don't watch Shadow Recruit, but
basically what Joker did, took other genres and made and put it in a comic book world, basically.
I mean, that's and if you look, if you think about the great conspiracy thrillers, you go back to Frankenheimer and you watch Manchurian Candidate and 7 Days in May.
Or 3 Days of the Condor.
Yeah, and then you go to the 70s and you've got Parallax View, 3 Days of the Condor, All the President's Men, Marathon Man.
Yeah.
You know, take your pick. And it's a weekend of boning up on what made these stories work.
Correct.
Take your favorite 10 movies.
But
the fact that no, they don't. And it's clear that they don't. And with Captain America, I kept waiting. I'm like, why are they not drawing? There's no central, like in Clear and Present Danger, if you follow that template, something happens. There is something happens, like friends of the president are murdered.
Oh, yeah.
And then you find out that one of the guys who was murdered had connections to a drug cartel. And then it becomes a mystery that you have to uncover. And the president's shadowy. You could have done the exact same, just follow the same beats.
But they don't do that, Robert, because you have people like studio boss Jennifer Salke, who, when she was asked 6 months ago in an interview, she stated she does not watch any film before the 80s. Period. She does, and that's a boss.
But the thing is,
Amazon Prime, who gets
the real problem is this. I think the real problem is Marvel's making movies without scripts. They're making movies based on ideas, and they're not making movies based on, oh, we got a really good script right here. Let's go ahead and make this. They just literally announced that they're going to start shooting Avengers Doomsday without a script.
But it's
this is the problem. Marvel has this is what they want.
They're copying themselves.
James Gunn has been calling this crap out and saying, look, we're not going to make a movie unless we actually love the script, and then we're going to shoot this thing. So
that's exactly it. James Gunn was the last time they actually had a plan, and the only time they really had a plan. And this is why I said at the beginning, this movie doesn't exist because somebody come in and said, guess what? I got a great fucking idea for Captain America fighting the Red Hulk, and they're fighting over the whole, adamantium rights, and it's kind of like a political thriller and all that. No, nobody came in and said that. It was, we need a movie with this. They're doing in this shit bass backwards. You're right. They're going into this shit, putting the cart literally before the horse every fucking time. And for the last 5-6 years now, they've been scratching their head going, why don't it fucking work unless we use Spider-Man?
But it's the same thing they're doing now here. Goonies 2, officially in the works with Steven Spielberg producing.
Sorry, but Robert had another point he wanted to make there before we jump to this. I didn't mean to.
No, we're going to talk about that later. I just wanted to bring that up. It's another thing. They want to bring it back because, like we talked about yesterday, I was talking with Tom about different films about Lucas and stuff, and we talked about how they're bringing back all these movies because of Beetlejuice's success. But do they actually know the genres? Do they know the stories? No.
Well, and Platoon talks about this too a lot. It's not. Look, great writing is great writing. That hasn't changed since the dawn of writing. All of there's a reason why Shakespeare's stories can still be, whether you're going to adapt the text directly or I love watching Ian McKellen's Richard III.
Oh god, yeah.
Which is an incredible movie set in some fascist Middle Eastern or Middle European country in the 40s. His stories are always, Hamlet will always work. Romeo and Juliet will always work because the stories were crafted by a master storytelling craftsperson. And I think that should always be the case. The problem is the writers that we have now are not educated. They did not spend their lives studying. To tell a great story is a skill.
Well, they didn't even read the books or watch the films.
I think what Rob is saying, and he's right. These people got into the movie industry to be famous and rich. They didn't get into the movie industry because they had a story to tell or because they wanted to make fucking movies.
I think people, but I do think people do that. The problem is their education. You need a classical education when it comes to telling stories.
They're not even trying that, though.
You need to go. Well, you've got to go back. And I tell all these people this. I'm not even a religious person, but if you don't know your scripture, if you don't know your Bible, like if you don't know the story of Job, for instance.
Well, all those stories originate from other places and they're all retold over and over again.
That's right. And that's why the Western canon is something that you need to delve into if you're going to be a great storyteller. You need to understand.
Robert, just real quick, sorry, because you kept saying it. I was like, yeah, but they're not even doing that. You want people to go back in genre. No, they're self-referential. So when they say we're making a new Captain America movie, instead of going back to all the classical things that you mentioned that made Winter Soldier good, they just copy Winter Soldier. When they want a new Star Wars, instead of going back to Flash Gordon and all the shit that George based it on, they just copy the last Star Wars movie, and then you get they're not even trying to look at genre.
I agree, but storytelling is essentially literary. You have to go back and you have to understand, you have to have a certain education when it comes to storytelling to understand why and how stories work. And that is inherently literary based. You can't just watch. That's why everybody's watched Buffy and Angel a million times. So it's got to be redolent of Joss Whedon's writing because that's all they know.
But I think Beaver's not wrong because
goes out the window.
But what's interesting is Joss Whedon was the guy that
it's all out the window. They don't care. They're just looking to make money. They're literally looking to. Here's the thing. Marvel is just saying, hey, look, we want to do a Captain America 4, and we're going to wrap up this Eternals, storyline that we never really touched for the last 4 years. And maybe we'll bring back the leader because we haven't talked about him in 17 years. And we'll try to get all of that going. We'll try to finish this storyline up with Black Falcon, Captain America. And then on top of that, we'll add a hip hop soundtrack to it. We'll have this certain look to it. That's what we're going to do. This is what I think is going on in these executives rooms with Kevin Feige, trying to figure out what they want to do for the next movie. Let's go hire this Black director. Let's go get these Black writers. They don't have any clue of what's going on. They haven't read comics, so they don't know anything about what it is that they're about to write. But then he sits these folks down. He says, all right, give me a script. And then they turn in the script. They go and they shoot it. And they probably shoot it before the script is done. And then they find out, oh, wow, this is absolutely garbage. Okay, let's go ahead and reshoot this thing again. And it just keeps going and going and going until they finally spit out some slop, which is what we got with Captain America 4. I'm sorry. I don't think any of these people have, Rob, I completely agree with what you're saying as far as what's needed. But it might be systemic. It might be something deep within the bowels of Hollywood that they just don't know how to write movies anymore. And they don't really, go back to what really makes movie and storytelling work. But at the end of the day, Kevin Feige doesn't care about any of that stuff. All he wants to do is just spit out another Marvel movie.
But the thing is, he did care about it. I mean, here's something that people forget.
Other people cared about
but here's what I find.
Cares, man.
Here's what I find fascinating. Kenneth Branagh, young Shakespeare savant, whose first feature film was directing Henry V that he starred in,
which was brilliant.
Great movie. The St. Christmas Day speech that he gives. He directed the live action Cinderella, and he directed the first Thor movie.
I know, but then you get Anthony Hopkins saying that was meaningless drivel CGI acting.
But here's the thing: you had Kenneth Branagh, who made his bones on the British stage doing Shakespeare, who comes in and classes up the joint when he does the live action Cinderella, and also makes Thor. He understands what Thor was and immediately made that movie work. If they did not hire Kenneth Branagh to make that first Thor movie, it never would have worked.
And the same thing with Favreau for Iron Man, and the same thing with Joe Johnston for
and who
Captain
directed
America
the first two Avengers movies?
Joss Whedon.
Joss Whedon.
But
you know, who's now been excommunicated. But
you're also talking about veterans, right? Like that's the difference, and that goes exactly into what these guys are saying, Rob. And I agree with everything everybody's saying, and I see the same exact problem across the board when it comes to effects and everything else. And I agree, it's more so these guys are self-referential. Angry Badger's kind of right. Like it's not just that they're ignorant of the angry. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. I was just trying to get this thought out for the last 10 minutes here, but because it's also into special effects, right? I feel like they're they're referring to effects that they have seen growing up instead of actually seeing what real things look like. It's the same problem with like AI, and then this is why all this stuff comes out this way, because they're all referencing the things that they have done or seen, and the only things that they're seeing is stuff that only goes back to like 1995. They don't go any farther than that, because if it's not in HD, they don't want to watch it. If it's not new and modern in any kind of way, they don't want to watch it. And Feige, I see as more of a Kathleen Kennedy now than I do as some visionary before, because he's stood on the shoulders of guys like Kenneth Branagh and Joe Johnston and Jon Favreau.
No, he hired those guys.
Did he though, or was it somebody else? That's my question here now.
Or was it Perlmutter? And that's where
Perlmutter and other people.
Kevin Feige has gotten lost in this whole Marvel formula bullshit that doesn't really work. And so now he thinks he can just copy and paste old movies and slap a new character in there and give it another villain. It's one of the problems Marvel has always had. But now it's starting to come to fruition because we're 35 movies in, and now all of these storylines are starting to collide with each other, and the shit's not making sense anymore. It's like, wait a minute, how come we don't have like something to stop the Hulk? The Hulk is like this powerful beast, and we've seen in previous movies. I think
we had a Hulk smasher.
Yeah, we've seen this shit. Like, how come
the Kevin Feige magic?
We got a Hulk. Hey, but they're still out there trying to shoot down the Hulk with jets and shit. It's like, okay, at some point in time, you got to understand that you've gone too far. What you were doing at the very beginning when you had like legitimate filmmakers and everything, all of that stuff was great, but he's not hiring Kenneth Branagh anymore. All right. He's hiring Julius Ona. And it's like, okay, you're not getting that same talent.
Where's the magic from Kevin that we saw in the beginning years? Or was
Kevin
it
Feige is he's a hack, man. I'm sorry. He's lucky. He's gotten very, very lucky. I don't take anything away from what he's done, but right now he has proven his worth, and he is not able to get this thing across the finish line. That's why they got to reboot it all.
Well, it was also the last vestiges of Bob Chapek's short-lived reign at Disney as well. This film is a result of that. So I'm really curious to see.
But everything was greenlit by Iger before Bob took over and was made
I don't know if I'd lay this on Chapek's shoulders at all.
Well, no, but Feige did lose some of the power, and then he also had to deal with what really killed Marvel was Disney Plus.
What really killed Marvel was Feige. I think. Well, I think.
No, because
it is. No, but Robert's right. Disney Plus is, and this is where I know Kathleen Kennedy blew the lid off this shit, because she flat out said that we want to make Star Wars like Kevin Feige did with Marvel, to where everything is must see, to where everybody will watch it no matter what.
Must see means make it great.
That's true.
She took the wrong message from it. But real quick, before we move forward, I don't want people have sent in their super chats. I don't want them to miss them. Pilgrim Media for $2. Does anybody know to maintain continuity in film? Yeah, not in Hollywood today. Unless you're talking, very few people. Robert knows how to do it. Hopefully one day he'll get to make a big movie. Mr. Burger for $10. Giant Slayer fans support Mr. Burger, the greatest anti-woke cartoon ever made. Tom Connors is in it. Watch Quiz Time with Mr. Burger Wednesday after the Giant Slayer. Hell yeah, go check out Mr. Burger.
He also made our intro, which is amazing.
That's a beautiful thing. So go check him out. And we will mention it again. Razor Burner for $2. My favorite Rivethead, George. Wish this Rivethead a happy birthday. Well, happy birthday to you.
Another birthday.
I could sing it to you, but I have a horrible voice. But Happy birthday. Okay. To you, my favorite ribbon. There you go. Thank you, Razor. I can't sing. My voice sucks. Redosaurus for $5. George, you needed to make that segment upbeat and happy. After all, you can't spell the word funeral without the word fun. Let me tell you something. I have written the woke monologues. Has taken me 3 years. I was sick, and I went for 3 hours, which you'll see once you watch it. Tuesday. Fuck, I even forgot the day. I went Tuesday to Vegas for 3 hours to shoot it at a studio. I've never done a monologue. So it's like a 30-minute monologue where I start from the beginning and go to the end. Fever, cold medicine, sweating like a mule. But I really think it's going to be something that a lot of
I
people
can't
like.
help but feel like I'm half to blame for that.
No, it's going to be a good thing. Either people are going to, I'm sure a lot of people will love it and a lot of people will hate it, but I'm planting my flag next Sunday. It's everything we've gone through with woke. It's just, I've been writing it for 3 years. And then one day I saw that the author of the Vagina Monologues was writing a new monologue, but for climate change. She says she wants to do what she did for vaginas for the climate and to terrify everybody, to bring them together. I was like, that's a really bad way. So everything I had been writing, I started putting it together. I know it's funny, Platoon. It's like where inspiration comes from. It's like, now I know how to put it all together. But she was like, but she didn't think of the words she was saying. What I did for vaginas, I wanted to do for climate.
It's like, what did she do for vaginas? Just what?
Because her sentence afterwards was to terrify everyone of climate. So I was like,
is everyone now terrified of vaginas? Is that the implication? Have they redesigned them?
Platoon, you don't want to be around them. Using colored hair and a nose ring. I'm afraid of those. Yes.
Oh God. There's this one line from the monologue. I think what did I say? It was like right after Trump. It was because that's towards the end of it. You had all the blue-haired activists and casualties clutching onto their nose rings like life rafts in a Category 5 reality check or something like that. But yeah, it's. I think people will enjoy it, and I think the ones who don't, well, it was probably made for them. Mark Daly for $5. I understand Platoon cynicism. Even share it. We've come a long way in a short time, but we've got a much longer way to go. We do have a long way to go. And I hear what Platoon is saying, and I respect the hell out of him. That's why I always love when he's here. I just think we have one shot. And I'm more hopeful than most people. I will say that. I'm not as much of a pessimist as I should be based on my life. But I think we have one chance to fix the foundation before we fall off the edge of the cliff. But Platoon has makes some great points. Mexican Iron Man, our intrepid producer for $10. George teasing me like a Puerto Rican ex used to be before she wanted to go shopping. Need preview. A preview is coming out. A preview will be out soon. A preview. Thank you, Mexican Iron Man. And then we got Mark Daly again for $5. Between New World Order and Snow White reboot, Disney is back to making more bombs than a Mideast pager store. Ouch! Damn, that's a good one.
Do we have the box office predictions for Snow White? Are they out yet? Do we know roughly what it's tracking for?
It is tracking currently at, says opening weekend domestic debut.
It's going to make a hell of a lot more money than Cats.
It will be 44.6 million. Says it's on track between 63 and 70. One debut, person 63 and 70 million. 3-day opening. There we go.
Weird.
63 and 70. I think that's not enough. I think it's going to fail. Dragon Master, $7. If you fail to prepare, you fail. You prepare to fail. Benjamin Franklin, hell yes. Benjamin knew it. He was the man. Thank you. Captain Cisco, love Captain Cisco for $5. Donald Trump just signed executive order to fire Kathleen Kennedy. Wouldn't that be beautiful? I would just like to see that. Yeah. Thank you, Captain Cisco. And then we got Mexican Iron Man again for $2. Bat Tom should sing to Razorburn. That's a good idea. He's got a great voice.
I keep telling you I don't sing. But if I was going to sing, I would sing Happy Birthday like Megadeth. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. It's her kid name here. Happy birthday to you. There you go.
I like that. That is awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Olaf for €2. Yes, Tom for birthday song. He's the best at it. He is. We just heard it. We got our own Mega Bat Tom. Red French Moon, member for 7 months. You are a straw hat. Of course, you're hopeful. I am a straw hat. I am hopeful. Thank you, Red
I
French.
love that George is always looking on the bright side, though.
Very Superman. Very hopeful. Look up, George.
I am. I do. Hey, let me tell you, when your ass is chained to a basement for a fucking year, being beaten every day when you're 7 and kidnapped, you have to look up. I mean, shit. Kenneth Downing for $10. Hello, gents. Hope all is well. I didn't see Cap 4. I had no interest. Well, you were smart. To back up what Angry Badger was trying to say, Kevin Feige was not sole architect. He was a producer. It was Joss Whedon with Favreau. Okay. Point made. I appreciate it. Now, let us look at what do people think of. Well, I want to cover this one thing quick because we didn't touch on politics. I want to bring this up real quick. Okay. Wish I could streamline all these buttons, just here we go. Did y'all hear about a certain teacher who went on an unhinged rant? Who's no longer
against
a teacher?
Trump?
No, against a student in a kind of anti-Trump rant.
Yeah, I believe I.
It's all the Republican senators and congressmen who just keep going along with it. It's not because they believe in it. You got to know they don't believe in it. They don't believe in any of it. They're just afraid that he's going to talk smack about them on Truth Social, and then they're going to lose their job in an election. So they're just doing whatever he says, which is the worst possible thing, because that's cult and dictatorship. Jesus Christ, you don't see that? I'm not kidding. When I say wipe that smile.
Sounds like my dad.
This is why we're getting rid of the
I just
Department of Education.
Going to detention for bringing up politics in class. You want to go for 2? Control yourself, man.
Okay, he's going. The kid's getting detention.
Yeah.
Wow.
Listen to that man-child. He's worse than me.
For the last 2 years.
That's like my uncle the other day.
And stood your back when they threatened you. You what? You say what? What? Are you serious? Treating me with that disrespect? Are you serious? Are you serious?
Because he told him to calm down. Now
I miss school.
Now
Typical
that guy,
Karen when you tell him to calm down.
Now I will say that is the teacher's fault. But now we have a student. Oh, I had to show you all this. I never thought I'd see someone.
Please tell me he got fired.
I believe he resigned.
No, he resigned right after that. He resigned right after that. Like,
wow.
Now there's this other kid who I shared it with a friend 2 days ago. Okay. Because I never thought I would see someone this dumb, but maybe I just forgot what it was like being a 15-year-old. Where the hell did it go? I'm looking for it. 1 second.
Robert would have said something. He'd have got kicked out.
No, but this kid just took it to a level it just stunned me. Basically, I'm looking for the clip. There's this cop who walks up to a parking lot, and this 15-year-old, the officer asks him, it's like, is that your car? He's like, no, and what are you going to do about it? That's his first reaction. And the cop's like, okay, give me your ID. He's like, and the teen says, why don't you take your vest off? And I'll show you what I can do. It's like, come on, he starts, it was just nuts. Like, what are you going to do about it, bitch? That's how he was talking to the cop. And the cop's laughing. And it was pretty nutty to see how stupid these people can be sometimes. So what do y'all think about Goonies till I find this damn clip? What do y'all think about Goonies being done?
Need to know genre.
You don't want to ask me that question.
I can't wait to see 60-year-old Corey Feldman going, hey, grandkids, you want to go on an adventure? Let's go.
Corey looks rough with the super dyed all black hair. Like,
what could they possibly do with
Something
that
on.
story at this
Watch
point?
me dance,
I
kids.
just don't think there's a story left to be told in that, and it's just a waste of time.
Well, Josh Brolin is coming back, they said.
Grab.
I know, but who is it for is my point.
It's
Whether
for
you
us.
like it or not, who is it for? Who is the
It's for
audience?
us, just like Skeleton Crew was for us. It's for people that grew up in the 80s. It's not for people that are around now. And I don't think they can capture the magic of the 80s and try to transport it into the 2020s. It's just not going to work.
Same amount of people that watch Skeleton Crew are going to
And
watch.
the same amount of people that watch Skeleton. Exactly.
I enjoy Skeleton Crew, by the way.
So Snow White, what are your predictions for Snow White? They say 63 to 70 million opening 3-day weekend.
The thing is, Snow White's going to make money. Because
with Rachel Ziegler,
you have to understand,
make money.
The rest of the universe outside of this sphere that talks about movies on YouTube or film Twitter, no one cares about Rachel Ziegler's. They don't know.
Yes,
if
they
you're a
do.
mom and you've got
Yes,
two
they
kids,
do.
you're going to go see. You're going to go see Snow White.
Have you seen that people do the weird and the things that she said that are outside of this sphere?
But look, you have to. I'm telling you, it's like people thought Mufasa wasn't going to make money.
Okay, fair point.
Mufasa's a huge hit.
Yeah.
The people don't when Disney, these movies are impervious.
I don't know if I'd call it huge.
It's
Is
pretty.
Disney gonna
It's
force
a
it onto
pretty big
screens?
hit. I mean, Mufasa's what, 800 million worldwide?
I didn't know that.
900 million, 700. It's huge, and it started slow. It started out and everyone's it's a disappointment. It's made money. Disney movies have for kids. I mean, unless the movie's really bad. I think Snow White is it
You saw
boggles
the CGI dwarves, though. I know you saw them.
but here's the thing. It boggles my mind. If the one thing I loved about Peter Jackson's Hobbit trilogy was the opening with the dwarves coming to Bilbo's house.
Yeah,
and they have the whole thing. How you don't look at that and go, that's how we have to do the dwarves in Snow White, where you have real actors playing the dwarves. They use that technology. You could have hired 7 great character actors from all around the world and had an incredible bunch of people to play those dwarves. And why they didn't do that will boggle my mind till the day I die.
And it's going to hurt the movie because
It's
those
totally
things
gonna
are
hurt the movie
absolutely scary as hell. I every time I look at those dwarves, I'm like, there's no way in the world. If I was a little kid, I would be scared to death to watch this.
That's the one thing
because
I'm
of
like,
those
how do you not? And again, I think it's because no one understands. They don't get that. Like if I was Bob Iger or whatever, Chapek, whatever, and I would have said, okay, we're gonna make the 7 dwarves. We got to do it like the dwarves were in the beginning of The Hobbit. We got to go Peter Jackson style, and we've got to find the 7 greatest, most charismatic
But look when
actors.
it was greenlit. Look when it was greenlit and what they originally looked like, where they would look like the.
Well, that was the
black
whole thing.
skulls with different-
I think that those were the actual dwarves. And they hired actors, and but that was again that the whole diversity. It boggles my mind that people who work in Hollywood now know less about making movies than I've worked in this business for 36 years now.
Right.
And all I see is admittedly at an independent level, all I see is monumental stupidity on a large scale. It boggles my mind.
It's because marketing departments, I really do believe, now run everything
It's not even marketing. They're analytics. They're looking at analytics and they're plugging. There's nobody that actually knows what they're doing. There's nobody that can sit there and go, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do this. We're going to do that, and go do it and implement that. It's all of this. It's so bizarre now that there isn't any
storytellers. We need storytellers, artists.
Well, it feels like to me there are storytellers in Hollywood, but nobody's listening to the storytellers. The executives are doing what they want to do. It's not like you can't say, hey, nobody knows how to do this anymore. There's somebody in Hollywood that knows what to do, but are the executives going to listen to that person and actually say, you know what? I'm just an executive. You handle the filmmaking. I'm going to, handle all the stuff that I handle. It seems like the executives want to put their thumb in the pie and have something to say about it. And it's like, you're just an executive. You're not a storyteller. Go stay in your lane and let me do what I do. It seems like that's the major problem.
Why even worse. Mexican Iron Man asking, I'm just real curious. For R&B's opinion on Goonies.
He knows it'll trigger him.
Why? What's wrong? Robert, you and I talk all the time. What, you not?
He doesn't like Goonies.
Oh,
the Goonies is terrible.
Okay, everybody has their opinion. No problem. You don't like
I'm
Goonies.
right, though.
I don't know about that. The idea to make a sequel to it is terrible, but I don't know about the first one.
I understand when people saw it. I saw it when I was in high school. I
liked
wrote a
it when
review
I
of
was
it
a
from my high
kid.
school newspaper, and I hated it then. I thought it was cloying.
That's why, because you were a teenager.
It's a movie that had it's a movie that had gratuitous kissing, and I like kissing. There was nothing about that movie that was appealing to me at the time. And remember, it's celebrating its 40th anniversary in 2025, along with another Steven Spielberg production, Back to the Future, that you should look to as what a great movie really is, not The Goonies.
When you say shit like that, it really makes me question my life.
If the way Hollywood,
I didn't like. Excuse me, Badger. 1 second. Beaver Badger.
Yeah, Beaver,
Badger's angry beaver. Okay, so I didn't.
Beaver.
Agitated beaver. I told Tom the other
Badger.
day, I said, why are they making a Goonies 2? I said, I kind of liked it when I was younger, and I really did. But then I saw it a month ago.
Goonies 2 and
it didn't
Gremlins 3.
hold up.
It's interminable.
They
Yeah,
have been in development for the last 35 years.
But it's now official.
It has been official for the last 35 years.
Yeah.
They finally have a writer, and every time somebody gets excited about this, I think they did reach out to the cast. So
Yeah,
this
Josh Brolin.
so this is where I do think you're right that this is, and the only reason I think this is happening, and this is what I was telling you yesterday, is because Beetlejuice hit so well, and Warner, if you ask anybody who knows anything about Warner Brothers, Robert knows what I'm saying. Beetlejuice, Goonies, and Gremlins are 3 of their biggest selling videos of all time. They are constantly in print. They have never been out of print. Every Halloween, you'll see a new version of them with a new cover. It never fails.
Well,
So that
again,
is why.
they're family movies that are timeless.
But
And I love Gremlins. Gremlins is one of my favorite films of all time. So
what the hell could you do for Goonies 2? They'd be grandparents.
That's what I was saying.
Well, that's about their
Grandkids,
kids. They're new kids. They hire a whole new group. But the problem is, here. Look, we used to have people, and this is a fairly recent phenomenon. We used to have people that understood. You had, first of all, filmmakers that were like, okay, let's go back to Richard Donner. Richard Donner, who directed The Goonies, who directed Superman, who directed Lethal Weapon, who directed Lady Hawk,
Oh, I love
who
Lady
directed
Hawk.
a lot of. The man began in television. He directed episodes. He directed Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, the Twilight Zone episode with William Shatner.
Okay.
All these guys were, again, classically trained in their craft. They cut their teeth directing episodic television. They worked their way up. They started making movies, and they were working with classical storytelling forms. And they had years of experience. And Richard Donner worked almost to the end of his life. He worked almost till the time he was 90.
I'm waiting for Lethal Weapon 5, damn it.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was developing Lethal Weapon 5 when he died.
We don't have those people anymore.
Well, we do, and some of those people they're not the same people anymore, Robert. That's the other problem.
But I mean, they don't have the years of experience learning their craft, learning how to tell stories.
Time to find those people. That's what I was gonna say earlier.
They don't exist. They're
If they
gone.
did
Well,
exist,
no. To my point is they're
some
even
must
bringing
exist.
back some of these people who actually made the originals. Look. Some people liked Beetlejuice. To me, it felt like a very sad 2 hours of my life. I watched the movie and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Tim Burton's not the same person anymore. There's no reason for this movie to exist. All they did was shit on a movie that was a single movie that was perfect in its place and time. And now they're going to do the same thing to Goonies. And I know you're not a fan of Goonies. And I'm at the same point with Gremlins. Sure, we had a Gremlins 2, but Gremlins 2 was all you need to say about Gremlins 1. Joe Dante's whole point with Gremlins 2 was to make fun of Gremlins 1 and the absurdity of it and how much it just kind of was this big, huge thing. And you were there in Warner Brothers when they were making Gremlins 2. They gave him carte blanche. Like, they'll never give Joe Dante that carte blanche again to make Gremlins 3. And they got Chris Columbus writing it, who wrote the original screenplay. And if you know anything about the original screenplay of Gremlins, that is not the movie we got.
Oh, fuck Gremlins and
Not even
Goonies.
close.
Robert, the point was, all those people that got fired and ousted and the Jonathan Lasters got pushed out, USAID isn't there. DEI, Black Rock State Street's not there. There's not those outside forces. So now it goes back to the Quentin Tarantino saying that you go with the visionary who's loudest and most confident in the room.
I'm saying there aren't any visionaries. There's nobody left.
Well,
there
never will be if we don't let them come back. Now they can come back.
There are one or two people I'd say who are quite good, but they tend to be given the smaller side projects and established brands. So I'm thinking,
Or they're Nolan and
Watson Ford,
Tarantino,
who get given Skeleton Crew, Tony Gilroy, who gets given Andor, if we're just looking at the Star Wars things, which are very, very unlikely to succeed. Metalis only bought into Star Trek after that brand had already been poisoned, basically. Like, given the uphill battle of trying to revive a dead thing. So like there are people, but they're not generally given these big marquee productions. The big marquee productions, and the reason you get so many of these old things coming back, and we might go back to old directors because we remember them doing the old nice thing, and most of the people who are now making decisions grew up watching the originals. The motive has changed. The motive is now nostalgia. Most of these older stories, they're like Ghostbusters, for example. Ghostbusters has something to say. It's actually quite a gritty film. It's quite a cynical film. It's a very funny but quite bleak film. It's got a dark sense of humor because the people writing it at the time were growing up in a particular era of New York, and they were very frustrated at trying to, get their own businesses off the ground. So they were telling stories very current to their day. Ghostbusters Afterlife and Frozen Empire, the two most recent ones, the motive for making those isn't, hey, let's do the same creative process that gave us Ghostbusters. It's, we remember fondly watching Ghostbusters. Wouldn't it be nice to evoke those fond memories for everybody else? And that's what you get. So we're in this like nostalgiocracy at the moment, where no one's actually creating stories. They're trying to recreate the happy memories they had watching other people's stories.
Okay,
and
but
that will never give you anything good.
This is where I keep trying to explain. Everyone thinks I'm a sweet summer child. Now that we are free to return to meritocracy is where we can start hiring the people. There can't be no one with these fucking skills. They've been overlooked.
We got Eggers. We got
Well,
Eggers,
no. Look, but Robert
I'm not
Eggers
even talking
is,
about no names.
Robert Eggers is making his own movies. Like, he's his own thing. He's like, people like him are the new generation of talent that are making their own things, which is great. But at the studio level, the real difference is how much studio movies cost. Back in the movies that we're talking about cost $25 million. Back in the day, a studio movie, I don't know what the budget for Beetlejuice.
You don't think the costs will come down now that they don't have that outside money?
No, costs won't. Hollywood doesn't know how to make a studio movie for less than $150 million.
No, I've said that before too. They'll never make
don't
movies for less. They'll always just find ways to make other people pay for it.
They don't know how, and it's
Godzilla minus Godzilla.
But Godzilla that was made in Japan.
We're all talking about exceptions to the rules.
They don't.
I get what Robert's saying. We don't have the Tony Scotts. We don't have any of these other guys that are the studio go-to guys who who are your tried and trues. Like, the closest we have is like Michael Bay. Right, and he's been in the industry for 30 fucking years.
Well, and the thing is, like, all the propaganda boys, Michael Bay, David Fincher, they all came out of music videos and commercials. They cut their teeth on those. They were incredible visual stylists. But even look at poor David Fincher, one of our great filmmakers that we have working that really knows how to make movies. He's working for Netflix now.
Look, Hollywood has become less risky. And they're not going to take chances on these projects that they used to take chances on back in the 80s and the 90s. Matt Damon went through all of this with his episode of Hot Ones. It's just because of the distribution model. You know, these things stay in theaters, 4 or 5 weeks, and then they're done. They can't make any of their money back. You know, so that's one of the biggest problems that they have. They're not going to take risks. Everything's going to be a big, giant franchise. You know, that's why we're going to get Goonies. We're going to get this movie, even though I don't want it. We're going to get this movie because it's going to make it has the opportunity to make more money than an original idea from an original filmmaker.
Also, we don't have the teen audience. You know, it used to be the place that movies sit in our culture has been so diminished. People will go see movies at our events, or kids will go see movies. Yep. There's no middle ground. I mean, now if they made Hunt for Red October, which was a $30 million movie that John McTiernan directed in 1990, it was a big hit. It would be done as a 10-part miniseries for Netflix now. I mean, look at movies like Presumed Innocent, big hit adult movie. Harrison Ford, Raul Julia, Brian Dennehy, Greta Scacchi, based on a big literary book, Scott Turow. What do? David Kelly makes it as an 8-part miniseries for streaming. Nobody would even make Presumed Innocent today.
Yeah,
the whole world has changed.
Wasn't it the big thing sort of Hollywood in the sort of the 60s through 70s when TV was rising and the studios were in trouble, and they thought, well, the one thing we can do that TV can't do is we can spend huge amounts of money and we can put on massive historical epics and massive.
You're thinking more of the 50s and 60s, but yeah.
But the same dynamics in play, right? And so, like, eventually, when that stops working, it does force a mindset shift, because like spending loads and loads of money actually isn't the thing that gets audiences in seats anymore, when they can go to streaming where actually equivalent budgets are being spent anyway. So you're kind of waiting for that moment where there's someone in a studio says, fuck it, what's the point spending $350 million on Captain America 4 when we're not going to be making any money on this, and we could be spending way less money on newer people, taking many more risks, but many more lower level risks, financially speaking, on newer storytellers. Like, does anybody predict that happening again in the next, say, 10 years, maybe, as the big brands and the big studios?
No, and I'll tell you why, because I've actually addressed this, and I'll tell you why, because we missed a window. Because Robert is right, because you got to push what you were just saying back a decade, because when the studio system was dying in the 50s into the 60s, they were doing exactly what you were saying. They were spending bloated amounts of money on these fucking movies that nobody wanted to see. and they didn't give a shit about anymore. Westerns were dying, musicals were dying. They didn't know what to do anymore. And then the 70s happened. And what happened was Martin Scorsese, De Palma, George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, these guys who could come in and introduce new stories and new ways and show you new things and do it on a budget. And then the 80s got a little bit overbloated. And then you get into the 90s, and what happened? Then you had Quentin Tarantino, and you had all these other guys come in. You actually had a little bit of that in the 80s too with Lynch and Cronenberg. But those guys led into the 90s, and it was stuff like the Blair Witch Project and Clerks from Kevin Smith and what's his face who did Dazed and Confused. He did the movie before that, Slacker. Help me out. Richard Linklater and all these other guys who come in and made these little movies that were making tons and tons and tons of money. You know, and that created the guys like Tarantino in that whole age. We didn't have another generation come in after that. Like Eli Roth and all those guys were like the last of that troop to come in. And we haven't had a new open door to new guys who are able to come in. Eggers is probably the closest. But like Robert said, he's off doing his own thing. And Nosferatu is his first hit. He's technically hasn't had a hit before this.
But also the real question is, or the real issue is that movies do not, and same with music. Movies and music used to define pop culture. They defined pop culture for 50 years. The whole latter half of the 20th century, music and movies were the most potent form of pop culture. They defined everything. We don't have that anymore. What we have is what you're looking at right now. We have user-generated content. Kids today don't give an F about movies. Why? They're not watching movies. Who is the biggest entertainer on the planet? Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast is the biggest entertainer on the planet. Nobody wants to watch movies anymore. They want to watch representations of themselves through user-generated content that they're both making. We live in a meme culture. Nobody even wants to sit for movies anymore. And until we realize that there's been, and by the way, I don't necessarily think this is bad. I think what's happened is we have a brand new form in user-generated content being created, whether it's on TikTok, whether it's on Instagram, wherever it's going to be. We've never had, Coppola talked about the democratization of filmmaking, that a 12-year-old girl in her basement's going to make the next Citizen Kane. That's happened. It's just that it's not movies that girl is making. It's a makeup tutorial she's put on YouTube, and she now has 50 million subscribers, and she's pulling down hundreds of thousands of dollars a month.
I don't disagree with you, Rob, but the other problem is
the world's
streaming and social media has destroyed that water cooler that we used to have, right?
No, it hasn't been destroyed. It's changed.
It's changed.
I don't know. Nobody's going to find the next Tarantino, though. That's my point. And you're right.
What I'm telling you is there's never going to be another Tarantino.
Okay, yes, there fucking will. And here's how we get it. Instead of choosing people for movies based on their skin color, we choose it based on meritocracy, and it will develop naturally.
But I hear what Rob is saying. Rob is saying that the audience is no longer, like the young audiences are growing up watching TikTok and YouTube, and they're watching social media, and they're not going to the movie theaters. So now when they grow up and they start moving into our age, they're going to be fondly reminiscing over the YouTubers and the TikTokers and all that stuff, and then that's what they're going to be pushing and promoting. They're not going to be trying to be Quentin Tarantino because they're not growing up admiring
cycle. I think it's a cycle. I think there'll be new Tarantinos and Coppolas. I think
it also depends on people introducing their children to movies.
Were dead. Look at the LP market. Everybody thought LPs were dead in the late 90s. Now they're projecting that year over year it's growing by $1.5 billion a year.
Yeah, but that's because overall less music is being sold in a physical look. You guys, it's not a
generation. They're 20 to 25 who are buying them because it's a new experience. I think we will have Tarantinos. I think it's going to be a while.
But here's
it might be in video games. Video games are bigger than movies now.
The movie form, and look, no one loves movies more than me.
Yeah.
But the movie form was the art form of the 20th century. It lasted 100 years. That movie form will stick around just like any other form will, but it will never have the cultural force that remember, this was technology that didn't even exist. The first feature film wasn't made, it was 1906. The Kelly Gang, the movie that was made in Australia, was the first feature, I think. The first animated movie feature was Snow White.
Movies
have run their course.
Right.
Now,
they haven't, not yet.
there's always going to be movies. There's
I'm
always
not
going
going
to
to
be
throw
movies.
my MetaQuest on to do the new Mission Impossible 7 that at the same time.
there
Movies.
was a
You
point,
just had an
like, I give
audio
a-
drama release, did you not?
I did.
Classical.
I
Yes,
did. I'm
classical.
still doing it, and I'm really proud of my audio drama. But the thing is, I'm purposefully working in an old form and trying to put a new spin on it. But it's not like suddenly there's going to be the Star Wars of audio dramas. Audio dramas are what I'm saying here is that the reason Quentin Tarantino became Quentin Tarantino is because from a very early age, he didn't just love movies. He loved all movies. He was watching martial arts cinema from the East. He was watching foreign films from, well, Eastern. I mean, he was watching everything. He was a sponge. There is nobody today that is watching. Kids today aren't even watching old movies. In order to become someone like Quentin Tarantino, you have to love the cinema form. And we don't have that. And I'll tell you something else that's on the horizon. No one's ever going to become a master again because AI in 5 years, probably sooner, you'll be able to type in, anybody will be able to type in. I'd like to see a movie where Humphrey Bogart and Rod Steiger and Zendaya,
And it'll be fucking soulless.
Timothy Chalamet,
and disposable.
But the thing is, what is important is it'll matter to the person who prompted it.
Yeah.
They're going to sit down and they're going to watch. They're going to watch their movies
by true art always.
I think we'll have a resurgence in cinema. I see what Robert is saying. He's saying it won't be the cultural powerhouse, but I think
it's changing though. Art has always that's like saying, yeah, man, classical composers are coming back. We're going to have a resurgence in Mozart, and we're going to have a resurgence in
No, it's
ballet.
like saying no one will ever compose anything ever again because AI will just do it, and that's not true.
There was a point in time when there were bookstores, like as far as the eye could see, there were bookstores, chock a block. People were buying books left, right, and center. No longer happening. Why? Because of the change in technology. People no longer buy books, so all the bookstores closed up. You know, there used to be 3 bookstores in the mall down the street from me. Now there are none. And that's just the change of the changing of the guards.
Okay, let's take 1 second real quick. I'm going to interrupt because we haven't heard from Platoon. We've heard from everyone else. What do you think in this conversation, Platoon?
Oh, I thought you had heard from me. Oh, okay. I just wasn't noticed. Fair enough. I'm broadly in line with the. I mean, I'm obviously slightly skeptical about the AI thing, just for a couple of reasons in the first place. There's always the questions of rights. What will the companies that own the models actually allow you to do with them? Then there's the second point, which is like the amount of involvement you have in prompting the thing, I think will in part determine how much it sticks with you after the fact. If you say, I want to watch a movie with these actors that's a space thing, and it gives you some generic repurposed thing at the end of it, it might be quite cool to look at for a bit. Might be fun to do 2 or 3 or 4 times. But eventually, the fact that you weren't invested in creating that story, which is sort of what you're tricking yourself into doing, will probably mean it has much less relevance. Also, the fact that it's such a like an atomized form of reception, you might be able to show it to a couple of friends maybe, and they'll talk about it with you, but it's not going to be, say, a Game of Thrones phenomenon when everyone is familiar with the plot points and everyone's talking about it week after week after week. So the social value of that kind of story production is lost in that, and that's why I don't think it will be a 1-for-1 replacement, though I completely agree it will make a big splash when it comes onto the scene. I'd like to think there's still a place for movies and that they'll still be popular, and there are still movies that come out that do incredibly well. But there are, I suppose, fewer of them. We also are living in this, tail end of this period where it's unusual in having been monopolized by one particular type of movie for the last 10, 15 years. It has been superheroes and also Rams for the most part. I do wonder whether some of the predictions for the death of the art form are really predictions for the death of the superhero genre. The fact that the major productions that are coming out are failing, but they're all superhero movies, might lead people to think, well, movies then are on the way out. But actually, that's just one type of movie. There's a lot of other things that could rise up in their place. There could be a brand new type of MCU, which dominates conversation for the next 10 years.
Let's be honest. He's talking about AI. This is all leading to the holodeck, where you can experience it. Either you've created it or someone else has. But Robert, even in the holodeck, there are holo novel stars. There's always the writers that their writing is better. That's what I'm saying will come through.
I understand that. I'm not saying it's going to go away. I'm saying that where it is in our culture, and because you get captured when you're a kid. We became movie fans as children. And we grew up in a world with television where movies were played on TV. Then we had cable. And so, you know, you didn't have a lot of choices. You would get locked into watching something. You'd find something you'd never seen before. I know, because it happened to me. And then when you're seeing these kinds of things, they blow your mind and all of that. And now kids are not growing up with movies and television the way they used to, because you've got video games, you've got Minecraft, or you've got all these things that kids are, and they are their own protagonists. You know, they're no longer, movies and TV are a passive experience, and our culture is now in an active experience, whether it's AI generated or not. The idea that you will be able to generate a plot. No one's going to sit there and go, I wish I could have written this. They're going to be using these new technologies, and the prompts will just get bigger. So you'll have your ideas like, what if a dog went and got lost on a mountaintop and I had to go find that, whatever people are, that's terrible, but whatever people are going to come up with, and they're going to sit there and they're going to watch this stuff, and they are going to share their feature films. They are going to share their prompts
as well. And you said that was terrible, but that's what people will do, and for the most part, most people don't know how to program the basic AIs you currently have. Also, there's a difference as well between you being the instigator in sharing the story that an AI has made for you, and even a video game, which is still a massive shared reference. Even in open world games or Minecraft or things like that, when people talk about that, they're not talking about their own individual creation. They're talking about their creation within a framework that everybody else is also creating in. So there's still a shared sense of story. It's, oh, have you been through this experience like I just went? Have you been blown up by a giant green penis last night? Yeah, I was. That's still shared common frame of reference. So it's still a kind of shared storytelling in the way that I think TV shows are doing more than movies are these days, to be fair. But that's not going to be replaced by even you generating a prompt-based AI movie and giving it to a couple of your friends and watching it together. That I don't think will be quite the same thing, because there's also less excitement, I think, that comes into receiving a story that nobody has created, as opposed to a story that either you have created or that has been created especially for you by people like you, and then you can start talking about it. One of the reasons YouTube takes off in our particular domain, in the film domain, is that everyone is still interested in talking about the stories people have made for them.
Robert,
usually because they're all shit these days. But
I have games with level creators. I can create my own stuff. I could be the hero. I still want someone with more talent and ability to me to create that, and then I'll play through it with me. You know what I'm saying? There's always going to be someone with the creative spark.
Okay, go on, Robert, and then we'll wrap this part up.
The problem with film is it's expensive. And there's always, you need to figure out, okay, if you're going to pay for this movie, you also have to have a return. And the real question is, if streaming becomes dominant and we lose theatrical, how are you going to get a return on your investment in terms of movie making? And what's going to happen is AI, for like, if you look at an image, try this just as a thought experiment. Take your favorite movie, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. And when you look at it and you just watch it and occasionally pause the movie and look at the frame that's on the screen, and look at and think to yourself that everything that you're seeing in that frame, somebody had to figure out. It was somebody's job, whether it was an art director or a production designer, to design that set, and then you had a bunch of minions that were part of the art department that had to dress that set, paint that set, build that set, unless they were shooting in a practical location. There's a bunch of people, multiple interdisciplinary work to create that image that you're watching. You had all different kinds of people from all different walks of life and all different skill sets that were working together to create whatever the frame is that you're looking at. A bunch of different people doing it. All those people cost money. All those people had to go to school to learn or at least train to do what they were doing. And nowadays, and what's going to happen is, who's going to want to do that? Who are you going to get to do those things in the future? Makeup effects. You know, it used to be, I worked in physical makeup effects in the early 90s. Everybody who was in physical makeup effects were all monster film fanatics.
I think you'll always have, to a degree, Robert, don't you? I mean, you'll always have to a degree. how big it'll be is what
I'm just telling you, the world is changed, and you've got to start looking at, on a larger level, how our entire civilization is shifting.
Yep.
And that's not a bad thing. It's just change, and change happens. I mean, and I think that what we're dealing with our technology is storytelling itself is more about nowadays the experiences each people are having with one another than it is to sit down passively and watch somebody else tell you a story. Why watch someone else's story when you can participate?
Yeah, I mean, eventually, I guess.
And you've got kids that are growing
up.
up in a world that's never existed before. I mean, smartphones, Black Mirrors have only been around. I mean, they only trickled down to kids in 2012. You're looking at 13 years, and it's changed the world
rapidly.
Well, here, I'm going to read these super chats and then we will jump on to the next because I got this in from somebody. Did I cut you off? Did I cut somebody off?
Oh, I was just going to say, because we were talking earlier about, one of the major problems with modern movies, say like Captain America 4 being the example, is exactly that people are discarding the old forms of storytelling. The implication is that these movies would be better if people did remember the old forms of storytelling, which does, I think, is the one sort. I don't even know. I'd call it optimism, but the thing that the Black Mirror can't replace, that the self-created movie can't replace, is precisely that. The reason these things are failing is basically the same reason that most AI art looks soulless and mass-produced and somewhat uncanny, which is that there are truths to the old forms of art and storytelling, which are worth remembering. And without those, people notice their absence. And I think people will do that when it comes to however we create art in the future, even if computers do all of it. People will probably detect the absence.
I agree. 100%. I always think there's going to be a segment of society.
And just one thing about the making money off this stuff that Robert said, that's the problem with streaming, and that's what I was getting to, and this is why I think it'll be a problem going forward to find a new Quentin Tarantino or somebody like that, because there is no profit in streaming. That's the problem. Sooner or later, they're going to have to figure that out, because they're literally spending billions to make just a few $100 million at best, and it's not working.
I think there'll be Netflix and somebody else left in the end. Anyway, the Sundowners Club, member for 8 months. Happy 40th to Breakfast Club. Dear Mr. Ryan. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I love Breakfast Club. I didn't know it was 40.
Turned 40 yesterday.
Wow, one of my favorite films. The Dead Man for $1. Thank you, Dead Man. He doesn't say anything. Just drops a buck. It's like dropping a mic. Thank you for that, Dead Man. Love it. Carno, member for 3 months. Robert, tell him how you feel about Hook. Don't tell me he fucking doesn't like Hook either.
Dude, come on. It's worse than the Goonies.
You are making it hard to be friends. Hook?
Hook is Spielberg's worst film by far.
I agree. It's not his best.
Are you kidding?
It's not his best, but it's Hook. It's Hook.
Spielberg has much worse films than that.
Put Robert in the boo box. The boo box.
Thank you, Carnell, for that one. You have enlightened us. Kenneth Dowling for $10. I just finished watching the Cobra Kai finale. Loved it. To Disney and Kathleen Kennedy, this is how you make a show with nostalgia. Honors the fans without pandering or pissing them off.
True.
Okay. I haven't seen the finale, so I will take your word. I've enjoyed Cobra Kai.
I did manage to stick the ending.
Universally liked, it seems. I hunted for a bad review, Rob. Sorry, it's a trifecta. Yeah, no one seems to dislike it.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting to see the ending because I loved the everything else they did, except for 2 episodes.
They didn't make any major mistakes. Yeah, this last season's been a bit bloated with the Saikai Taikai tournament stuff, which was a little convoluted. But other than that, they stuck the landing. It was not a setup for the movie to come, thank God. And I'm not going to get into any other spoilers other than that. So
Karate Kid Legends.
Yeah.
Parrot Head for $2. When is R&B going to do the Bat Tom movie?
It's coming. Sure. Absolutely. 100%.
Oh, God. Hey, you feel that excitement?
I got a voice for audio dramas.
And then we have, so you heard that right here, Parrot Head. R&B's getting right on it. For his next birthday, it'll be done. Kenneth Dowling for $20. Before I go, I wanted to give a shout out to Robert Meyer Burnett and his radio drama. It is based in Chicago in the Capone crime era. I'm using your story as inspiration on what I am working on, which was also set in Chicago. Later, guys. I can't wait to hear it as well. Thank you, Kenneth. Oh, Robert's got an incredible radio drama. I found that clip that I wanted to show y'all, and then I'll show you one more thing, and then we're out of here. I just wanted to get everybody's impression of this clip because to me, this was, when I saw it, I'm like, I don't remember being around teens that dumb when I was young. Just don't. Hold on, here we go.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What car you in? I ain't in any of these cars. Let's go. Then you got to get out. Let's go. Nah, I don't got to go nowhere. You live here? I don't got. Yeah, I live here. You don't got. Okay, what you walking up on me like that for? What's up? What's your address? Take that vest off. Come on. Take that vest off for me. Come on. Take that vest off. You know. Come on. Take that shit off. Let's get it. All right, let's get it, bro. What's up? What's up? Take that shit off. Take that shit off. Laugh like you're not a bitch. Like you're not a bitch. Take that shit off. Come on. Nah, take that shit off. Let's get it. Where do you live? Your partner here like he's gonna do something. You ain't gonna do shit. Where do you live, man? I live right here. There ain't nothing about it. What's your address? Do something about it. Huh? How about that? Take your shit off and do something about it. You like I won't. Like you what? Like you want what? I ain't gonna say nothing on that camera. What do you do? Take that off. What do you do? Take it off. Let me see. Okay, take it off. Let me see. Yeah. Let me get your ID. You ain't gonna get shit. Okay. Take it off and you see. Well, what you laughing for? I'm writing your shit. Take it off. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Stop resisting. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. I'm a minor.
All of a sudden, I'm a minor. And it was, yes, sir. I didn't mean that, sir. It's like, does anybody remember teens this dumb?
Nah.
No.
No. Yeah. Come on. There is.
I did not. I don't know who y'all hung out with.
Every single country track the percentage of the adult male population between the age of 18 and 23. Like teenagers and especially teenage boys are dumb as shit, and they always have been.
I remember dumb
not
teenagers,
here,
but
not against cops. Yeah, we were taught not to fuck with cops. Respect them. Social media has done that, and all the sovereign city, like what crimes
Hippies
you
were
suspect
probably
me
the
of
last
committing.
time that was this bad. Yeah,
all those videos got them to act like that and correctly body slammed.
Because where do you get I mean, I was taught you have to respect the cop, also be afraid of cops, meaning
Well, DA might got shot. I would get arrested because I had weed on me all the time. We had to be real polite to them.
In Texas,
man. Cops in LA, you don't mess with cops in LA.
You don't mess with
man.
them.
It's
Yes,
a whole different world out here, bro.
But I mean, there's been a whole. There's no respect. I mean, the way when I was in school, like you would never disrespect a teacher.
Right.
And teachers had a distance between students. You weren't friends with your teachers. Teachers could like you, but when I was in school, everybody respected teachers. You didn't want to let them down. You didn't want to do. You were scared of fucking up on a test. I mean, it was the kind of thing where we all knew that school was valuable. Like it was worth doing. There's always been delinquency and all that, but like we always wanted to do well. And now all that's out the window.
Yeah, Rebelli gets authority, as pointed out in the comments, but not the cops specifically.
Not to his face, but he's like, take that shit off. I'm like, the cops even laughing like,
bro.
No, we were smart like you said, Badger. That's completely social media induced.
Yeah, trying to be tough and get clicks.
The president, released from the White House his Valentine's Day card for everybody. Roses are red. Violets are blue. Come here illegally and we'll deport you. I was like, that was interesting. Anyway, we were going to cover more politics, but we've gone over a little bit today. Thank you all for being. Oh, we got super chat. Filmed there at Allen for $5. Guess where I was 40 years today? In a movie theater watching Breakfast Club.
There you
Has
go.
there been a Breakfast Club 2 announcement yet? Are we getting that?
Oh my God, no.
It's a television series coming soon, Little Platoon. They're all going to be black. Sorry.
They're all older than the fucking principal was in that movie.
Netflix.
And Molly Ringwald? No.
Judd Nelson does not look very good.
Judd Nelson didn't look good after St. Elmo's Fire. What was it? Anyway, Platonic Guardian for $5. R&B is off the mark. Streaming original content is killing the movie biz. Teens like movies, but why spend $15 for a movie they can watch on Netflix? Interesting.
That's partially what I was getting at. Also, the spreading out of the attention, right? Like, it's really difficult to get the attention on one thing. I don't think a Blair Witch Project could happen now, was my point before.
In a month, Captain America will be on Disney Plus.
Yeah, but that's because it's failing. Badly performing movies go out of cinema really quickly and onto streaming. And if movies do incredibly well, it's months before they arrive on streaming. I think Barbie arrived, was it like 8 or 9 months after its theatrical release? It finally got onto streaming.
Warner Brothers still cares, but look at what like Universal is.
Well, look at
being stupid. They pulled Nosferatu after like 20 friggin' days. It's like, what are you doing?
And it was succeeding. It was killing it.
Same thing with Sonic. Sonic 3 did the exact same thing. They pulled it quick and they put it on.
Does that
Yeah,
make
I
sense
don't know.
to you? That's like
Yeah,
you're
that makes
making money. Why remove? Yeah. Anyway, Skiz Spivak Esquire gifted 10 Georgia Giant Slayer memberships. Thank you, Skiz. Always great to see you. Thank you, my friend. Please, everybody goes. Thanks, Skiz. This is going to be an amazing week. What is it? 50 applauses. That's good. Give it all to Skiz. One more. There we go. Thank you. All righty. Thank you all for coming. So, got a great week coming up. What are you doing, Little Platoon? Where can everybody find you?
There's a little Emilia Perez video on my second channel, which is Lost Chord. The main channel will be revived over the course of this week because I haven't done anything for like 2 months. But obviously, Captain America 4 is out, so now I have to go and watch it again, which is great. Looking forward to it. And EFAP is Saturdays, and I am now a co-host on that, so I'll be there every Saturday doing very long streams. My attempt to get outside more has been foiled. But I'll be back there next Saturday, and more videos coming soon.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I can't wait. You know, the thing I didn't get to say that bugged me the most about Captain America 4 was the Hulk battle with the Captain. I thought he should have been. He should have been dead 30 times. I don't know. Just didn't.
Yeah, the whole Wakanda tech that makes him pretty much indestructible. Like you can't hurt Falcon at all. It's just like, come on, man. They're driving him through buildings. Hulk has this moment where he's just bashing on him, and you don't feel any
Just the concussive pressure. The concussive. What was the thing they call it? The Hulk smash when he does that, and it destroys the back half of the White House or the one.
His Hulk. The Hulk
clap.
The thunderclap.
Right, but then
thunderclap.
Falcon, I'm like, okay, well, we actually have in real life soldiers who get concussion injuries from the IEDs during war and from grenades and so forth. And they're damaged, but he just takes that clap and keeps going. I'm like,
well, that's because he's wearing vibranium.
That was one of the scenes where I really got pulled out of it because and I said this to you yesterday, George. Like I can accept it to a point, like movie physics, because like I said, unless
but he's got
Iron Man
soldier
has some special setup inside of his suit. Like, let's be real. After every time he takes a flight and does some stuff, he'd probably be a puddle of blood and guts inside that suit. If it wasn't a movie.
Vibranium.
But yeah, the vibranium bullshit supposedly fixes it all. Yeah. Okay.
And a missile blows up when the Captain is holding.
But that's not going to protect his face and shit. I don't care how many if you put a shield in front of it.
Like the wind resistance when you're flying through the air and you got a shield and you're throwing it around and bouncing it off of missiles. Like, do you realize I tried to imagine myself if I was on something with a jetpack on my back and I'm flying like 100 miles through the air and I have the strength to throw a shield. That's not possible. Okay, I'm sorry, that's just not possible unless maybe I got super soldier serum, which I don't. So it just doesn't make any sense. That took me out. I'm like, all right, forget it.
And then the Winter Soldier DA. It's going to be Congressman Bucky, and the little short girl who I thought was a kid.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, she's a widow.
A widow, but she's like pint size.
Yeah,
we could stream for another 4 hours and break it down if you want.
Almost out. We're almost out, George.
It drove me crazy. All right, DA, what you got coming up? Tell everybody.
Daily videos. I'll be going live tonight on the DA's office, just talking about everything that happened this weekend. And nightcaps coming up Tuesday and Thursday of next week. But mostly just daily videos. So come hang out tonight on the DA's office. And that'll be it. Thanks, George.
Thank you for joining us, Badger Beaver.
Big one tonight on Diabolical Souls Presents channel. We're gonna have Bo DeMeo back on to talk about everything from his. I will talk to him, George. Don't worry, I'll connect you to everything upcoming with his getting his NDA dropped and
his video is really
America.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's more or less the one that he released months ago and talked about the first time he was on that. Some fun things going over there at Marvel. So we'll be talking about that. And then tomorrow, Film Threat versus.
Sweet. Tom, what you got coming up at Midnight's Edge After Dark, Midnight's Edge Espanol?
Videos, streams, the routine, typical stuff.
Anything special? Like something y'all working on or?
Not that's out of the ordinary. No, just see what we got out already. We got always got videos coming.
Okay. And then Sir Robert, who doesn't like The Hook or The Goonies.
Well, you know what I do like is somebody mentioned, thank you, by the way, my audio drama. You can go to truenoir.co and subscribe. 6 of 10 episodes have been released, so there's 3 hours of it. You can get it in either 2-channel stereo or 5.1 if you want to listen to it on your home theater system. It's designed to be listened to on home theater. It's like I like to say, it's a movie, but without the pictures. It's designed to sound like a film, and it stars people like Katie Sackhoff and Michael Rosenbaum and David Strathairn and Anthony LaPaglia. Barry Bostwick, who was in Rocky Horror Picture Show, plays.
What do you hear Katie doing? Is there a sex scene in there? Maybe that's really
There
hot
is
and steamy?
there is a sex scene in there. Katie Sackhoff, as Alan Eng from Film Threat said, it was both erotic, but also dramatic and terribly sad in the end, because it is sad. You got to listen to it. But I'm very proud of it. It's one of the things I'm most proud. And it was written, of course, by Mystery Writers of America Grandmaster Max Allan Collins, who his graphic novel was Road to Perdition, was turned into the movie by Sam Mendes. And it's the best thing I think I've ever worked on in terms of my work, and then working on the scripts that Max wrote. A real story written by a real storyteller, a novelist about a character that has spanned 19 novels and short stories.
That's I can't wait till the whole thing is done. But
to be honest, me neither, because I'm going crazy.
Does Katie Sackhoff moan?
You'll have to listen.
That's why I'm trying to sell it the right way, right? Robert has a very good one in there that she wrote.
No, it's tastefully done, but I have to tell you, that was a big
tasteful moans.
There's actually 2 sex scenes. There's another sex scene in episode 5. How do you direct an audio only sex scene that doesn't come off as silly?
Yeah.
That was really a hard thing to do.
Making of.
It was, yeah.
I'd love to see that shoot session.
but I, I'll tell you, here's a funny story. So Katie Sackhoff wanted to know, as all good actors do, what I expected of her. So before we recorded, I called her at home. I'd never talked to her before, and she loved the scripts. She's in 2 of the episodes, and she wanted to know all about her character. And we went over what we were going to do and what I wanted to do. And she had asked about the sex scene and how far was it going to go. And I go, look, it's not going to be like when you hear bed springs squeaking, or, I said, no, it's going to be very tasteful. And hopefully if it all comes off well, it'll be sexy, but ultimately it's sad because the characters, you'll see what happens.
I have one key question. Did you ask her if she was method or not?
I did not. But I did tell her, she asked me if I was a Galactica fan. I'm like, yeah, I love Galactica Mandalorian. The reason I wanted you in this show is because I loved you in Longmire.
Oh, Longmire.
I loved hearing that.
Longmire was awesome. I don't know why it got canceled.
Well, she told me that story. She's like, we begged, and for whatever reason, they wouldn't bring it back. And she really wants it. She's fantastic. By the way, she is a delightful human being.
Really?
Truly a delightful human being. Yeah,
that's good to hear. That's rare. That's rare.
Really a delightful human being, and it shows. When you have actors that like them, she liked the material. I did not write this material, but she loved it, and she was great in it.
Yeah, I love Longmire. I don't even know what happened to that actor. I think the last time I saw him, the one that she acted with, the one who played the sheriff marshal, whatever. He was in like the the Meg movie, the Megalodon movie.
Yeah. By the way, Michael Rosenbaum, who stars in our show, our audio drama, he is also a delightful human being.
Cool.
On every level, and a consummate professional and an incredible actor. I love that guy. And again, I didn't know him before we worked on this thing, and he's in every moment of it. So
okay. Well, thank you all for coming. This was a awesome show. And Babylon 5 is better than Stargate. Hey, I love Stargate SG-1, and I've been rewatching it lately for $199.
Yeah, Robert, what's your hot take opinion on this one? Is it in fact better?
No, what's interesting? Stargate SG-1 was a huge blind spot in my world, and I've been told by people to watch it, and I have to say,
you haven't seen it?
No, I started watching. It's really good, and there's so much of it to watch. But I was surprised. I like the original movie. I don't like the fact that Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich, who made Stargate, were totally cut out of. They were cut out of the whole process. Like, they created this franchise, and they sold it to MGM, so they had nothing to do with the show, and they made no money from the show, which is terrible. But I really think Stargate SG-1 it's a really good show.
I enjoy
You will
it.
really enjoy it. Even the spin-offs are good.
And Babylon 5's good too.
I'm just now getting into Stargate Atlantis. I finished SG1.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
That's now starting in first season. All righty then. I will be posting behind the scenes plus some teases all week long as we lead up to next Sunday, where I'm going to do my first premiere video film, whatever the hell you call it, monologue. So get excited. It's coming. I will see y'all later. And remember, to win every battle and stay true to yourself, all you have to think about is that we never bow down, we never bend the knee, always forward. Please go thank Lord Thoth, Eric K, King of the Mods, Olaf, and all the beautiful people who showed their support today. Love you all. Have a blessed week.